Welcome, brave souls, to another spine-tingling journey into the heart of darkness. Tonight, we delve into the eerie realms of Ohio, a state rich in history and haunted tales. From abandoned asylums to ghostly tunnels, Ohio's haunted places beckon those daring enough to uncover their secrets. So, dim the lights, settle in, and prepare to be transported to the 25 most haunted locations in Ohio. The Ridges, perched on a quiet hill overlooking Athens, Ohio, carries a reputation steeped in shadows and sorrow. Originally constructed in the 1860s as the Athens Lunatic Asylum, its imposing brick facades and sprawling wings were meant to care for those struggling with mental illness. Yet behind its architectural grandeur lay stories of suffering, neglect, and tragedy that would linger long after its closure, giving rise to tales of restless spirits and unexplained phenomena. Visitors first notice an unsettling stillness as they approach the site. Even on sunny days, a certain chill seems to hang over the property, as though the very air remembers the countless lives once confined within these walls. The main building, with its long, narrow hallways and heavy wooden doors, exudes an atmosphere of oppressive silence. Many who walk its abandoned corridors report hearing echoes that do not belong to the present, whispers of patients long gone, the shuffle of hurried footsteps, and, on more than one occasion, a piercing scream that seems to come from the walls themselves. These sounds are not random. Some witnesses describe them as reacting to their presence, growing louder when they pause or turn to investigate. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most commonly reported sightings. Staff members, explorers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike have described fleeting glimpses of people moving along the hallways or standing just at the edge of vision. These figures often appear as dark silhouettes, lacking clear features, yet carrying an unmistakable human shape. Some have witnessed a figure in an old-fashioned patient gown standing in doorways or peering out from behind cracked windows. In certain areas, these apparitions seem to move independently of the building's layout, vanishing as soon as one approaches. Temperature anomalies add another layer of strangeness to the ridges. Sudden drops in temperature are often reported, particularly in the older wings and the basement areas. Visitors have recounted feeling icy drafts brush past their skin, even on warm summer nights. Some describe their breath fogging in the air, while others report shivers that have no physical cause. Paranormal investigators frequently cite these cold spots as evidence of lingering spiritual energy, suggesting that the sorrow and trauma of the asylum's history have left an imprint on the building itself. The nearby cemetery deepens the site's unsettling aura. Many patients who passed away within the ridges were buried on the property, often in unmarked graves. On moonlit nights, some witnesses have claimed to see ghostly lights flickering among the headstones, or shadowy forms moving silently between the rows. Others have heard whispers echoing from the graves, as if the earth itself is murmuring tales of forgotten lives. A few daring explorers have even reported seeing figures rise from the ground, walking slowly toward the asylum before dissolving into the night air. The stories extend beyond visual and auditory phenomena. Some visitors recount experiences of physical sensations that defy explanation. The feeling of being touched or pulled by an unseen hand, pressure on the shoulders, or an invisible presence following their movements. Others speak of intense emotional reactions, sudden waves of sorrow, anxiety, or fear that seem to emanate from the building rather than from any personal thought. These experiences suggest a palpable connection between the living and the past inhabitants of the ridges, a haunting that is both psychological and supernatural. Certain areas of the complex are noted for particularly high activity. The basement, once used for medical procedures and storage, is often described as suffocatingly dark, with cold air swirling through empty corridors. Witnesses report hearing the clanging of doors, the scrape of metal, and low mournful moans that seem to echo endlessly. Upstairs, patient rooms exhibit similar phenomena. Doors creak open without wind, and shadows appear in the corners of rooms, retreating when observed. One visitor reported seeing the faint outline of a woman standing at the foot of a bed, staring silently before vanishing into the wall. Local lore has also added layers of story to the hauntings. Some tales speak of former staff who perished while tending to patients, their spirits remaining behind in loyalty or despair. Others claim that certain patients, particularly those who died under tragic or violent circumstances, have refused to leave, their rest disturbed by the trauma they endured. Over the years, numerous paranormal investigations have been conducted at the ridges, many capturing anomalies, flickering lights with no electrical cause, unexplained sounds on audio equipment, and orbs of light in photographs. While skeptics may attribute these occurrences to natural phenomena or the power of suggestion, the consistency of reports over decades has cemented the ridges as one of Ohio's most haunted sites. Visitors today are often drawn by a mix of curiosity and reverence. Some come to explore the history of mental health treatment and the architectural significance of the buildings. Others are drawn by the supernatural stories, seeking a glimpse of the apparitions or to experience the eerie ambience themselves. Regardless of motivation, most leave with a sense of having touched something beyond the ordinary, an invisible thread connecting the present with the dark past of the ridges. Despite its closure as an asylum, the ridges remains a powerful reminder of the lives contained within its walls. The building and its grounds act as a repository of memory, sorrow, and perhaps unrest. For those who step inside, there is a palpable sense that the stories of the past are not confined to history books, but are still alive in the whispers, shadows, and chills that linger in the corridors. It is a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead feel exceptionally thin, a site where the history of human suffering continues to echo in the present. The ridges, with its long hallways, shadowed corners, and ancient cemetery, stands as a haunting monument to the past. Its spirits, whether protective, sorrowful, or restless, offer a glimpse into a history that refuses to remain buried. For those willing to walk its paths and listen closely, the echoes of the ridge's former inhabitants remain, whispering their stories to anyone who dares to hear, a chilling testament to the enduring presence of the past in the present. Moonville Tunnel, nestled deep within Ohio's Zaleski State Forest, stands as a relic of a bygone era, its weathered stone and overgrown rails whispering tales of industry, tragedy, and lingering spirits. Constructed in the late 19th century as part of the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad, the tunnel was once a bustling conduit for trains, carrying goods and passengers through the rugged landscape of Vinton County. Yet beneath its utilitarian purpose lies a history steeped in death and legend, giving rise to the stories that have made Moonville Tunnel one of Ohio's most haunted sites. The most famous tale centers on a railroad brakeman who met a tragic end within the tunnel in the 1880s. Accounts suggest he was caught between cars during a routine inspection, crushed under the weight of the train. Since that fatal night, visitors claim to feel a presence within the tunnel, a lingering spirit unable to leave the scene of his untimely death. Hikers on the Moonville Rail Trail often report a sudden drop in temperature as they approach the tunnel's mouth, a chilling prelude to the eerie experiences that follow. One of the most common sightings involves a flickering lantern bobbing in the darkness. Many who have encountered it describe it as moving slowly along the tracks, as if carried by a figure walking with purpose. When approached, the light vanishes, leaving behind only the sound of footsteps echoing along the tunnel walls. Some visitors have attempted to follow the lantern, but it seems to maintain a spectral distance, appearing just far enough away to remain untouchable. Paranormal investigators speculate that this is the ghost of the brakeman, eternally retracing his steps, carrying a lantern to guide the way that ended in his death. The tunnel is also known for strange auditory phenomena. Even on silent nights, the hollow interior can carry the sound of phantom whistles, the clatter of wheels, and the rhythmic clomp of boots on wooden ties. Many hikers have reported hearing these noises when no one else is around, the sounds echoing as if a train or multiple trains were still passing through. Some describe the sounds as growing louder as they near the center of the tunnel, only to vanish entirely when they reach the source. The auditory experiences are so convincing that several visitors have sworn They saw shadowy figures moving in tandem with the noises, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. Moonville Tunnel is said to host more than one spirit. Alongside the spectral brakemen, witnesses occasionally report the presence of other figures, their forms just glimpsed at the edge of vision. Some are described as workers in period attire, carrying tools or lanterns, walking the tunnel as if tending to duties long forgotten. Others appear more transient, fading in and out like mist, leaving a lingering sense of cold dread. The air within the tunnel often feels oppressively heavy, as though the sorrow and tragedy of the past have imprinted themselves on the very stone walls. Visitors also recount strange sensations of being watched. Hikers report feeling a gaze upon them as they entered the tunnel, an unshakable awareness of another presence that does not belong to the living. Some have experienced sudden touches, a hand on the shoulder, a brush along the arm even when alone. Others claim their equipment, particularly cameras and recorders, malfunctions inexplicably while inside, batteries draining rapidly or devices turning off without cause. Paranormal teams consider these disturbances consistent with residual spiritual activity, linking the experiences to the violent deaths and long-abandoned nature of the tunnel. The surrounding landscape contributes to Moonville Tunnel's unnerving atmosphere. Dense woods shroud the area, and the trail leading to the tunnel is lined with moss-covered stones and fallen timber, creating a sense of isolation. At night, the forest amplifies sounds, carrying whispers and footsteps that seem to come from multiple directions. The natural echoes of the environment often blend with the alleged paranormal activity, making it difficult to distinguish between the living world and the spectral one. Locals warn that hikers alone after dark are especially likely to encounter the unexplained, while groups tend to report fewer incidents, possibly due to the energy of multiple observers dispersing or masking the spirits. Over the years, Moonville Tunnel has attracted countless curious visitors. From amateur ghost hunters to professional paranormal investigators, many come seeking proof of the supernatural. Armed with cameras, recorders, and EMF meters, some leave with chilling evidence, lights captured on film, unexplained shadows, or recordings of footsteps and whispers. Others leave simply with a profound sense of unease, a feeling that the tunnel holds secrets that cannot be fully comprehended. Despite the modern trail signage and historical markers, the tunnel retains its air of mystery, a place where the past bleeds into the present. The legend of Moonville Tunnel is not limited to the ghostly apparitions. Local folklore suggests that those who disrespect the site, walking carelessly, shouting, or disturbing the surroundings are more likely to encounter the spirits. Several accounts detail visitors who felt compelled to turn back, overcome with fear, or who experienced more intense phenomena after ignoring the stories. Conversely, those who approach with reverence often report softer experiences. The occasional flicker of lantern light, the sensation of a guiding presence, or whispers that fade without fright. The narrative of Moonville Tunnel is, in many ways, intertwined with human behavior, echoing lessons of respect for both history and the unknown. Despite its eerie reputation, Moonville Tunnel continues to captivate. Daytime visitors are drawn by history, photography, and hiking opportunities, often remarking on the haunting beauty of the old stone arch set against the forested landscape. Nighttime explorers, however, seek the thrill of the supernatural, hoping to glimpse the lantern, hear the phantom footsteps, or feel the presence of the tunnel's restless spirits. Each encounter adds to the rich tapestry of stories that surround the site, cementing its status as one of Ohio's most compelling haunted locations. Moonville Tunnel, with its flickering lanterns, echoing footsteps, and shadowy figures, stands as a testament to the intersection of history and the supernatural. The tales of tragedy and spectral activity preserve the memory of those who worked, lived, and died along the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad. To step inside the tunnel is to enter a world suspended between past and present, where the echoes of human loss reverberate along the stone walls, and the lantern of the long-dead brakeman continues its eternal journey through darkness. Those who walk the Moonville Rail Trail may leave with only memories of the forest, or they may carry the lingering sensation of having glimpsed the impossible. A brush with the ghosts that call Moonville Tunnel home. Perched in Cleveland's Tremont neighborhood, Franklin Castle looms as a dark sentinel over the city's history, its turrets and gables hinting at both grandeur and hidden sorrow. Built in the 1880s by Hans Tiedemann, a wealthy German immigrant, the Victorian mansion was intended to showcase his success. But the home soon became a stage for misfortune, tragedy, and, according to countless reports, lingering spirits. Over the years, Franklin Castle has earned a reputation as one of Ohio's most haunted locations, drawing both historians and thrill-seekers to its imposing doors. The Tiedemann family, who originally inhabited the mansion, were central to its eerie lore. Tragedy seemed to shadow their lives from the beginning. Though Hans and his wife were prominent figures in Cleveland society, whispers of misfortune circulated quietly among neighbors. Some accounts claim that the Tiedemanns' children suffered untimely deaths, with at least one daughter dying under mysterious circumstances within the house itself. These early tragedies are thought to have left the mansion imprinted with sorrow, a residual energy that continues to manifest in unsettling ways. Visitors to Franklin Castle often recount strange experiences almost immediately upon entering. Many speak of cold spots that appear suddenly in hallways or rooms, chilling the air even in warm weather. Footsteps echo through the mansion, though no one else is present, and doors are reported to slam shut without cause. Some guests have described hearing whispers or muffled voices, often faint and indistinct, as if conversations from the past are leaking into the present. The mansion's dark wood paneling, twisting staircases, and narrow corridors seem to amplify these sounds, creating an almost claustrophobic atmosphere that intensifies the sense of the supernatural. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the apparition of figures in period clothing. Witnesses have seen shadowy forms moving gracefully through rooms, vanishing when approached. Some report glimpsing a young girl, perhaps one of the Tiedemann children, standing silently in a corner or peering from behind a doorway. Others have claimed to see a man in a suit pacing the upper floors, his expression solemn and unreadable. These sightings often occur during evening hours, when the fading light casts long shadows that merge with the mansion's many alcoves and hidden spaces. Franklin Castle's architecture itself seems to contribute to its haunting reputation. The house is filled with secret passageways, hidden doors, and staircases that lead nowhere, many constructed during renovations by Hans Tiedemann himself. It is said that some of these hidden spaces were used to store valuables or to create private areas for family members. But over time, they have taken on a more sinister reputation. Visitors exploring these hidden nooks report sudden chills, inexplicable noises, and the eerie feeling of being watched. In some cases, investigators have claimed to capture unusual orbs of light in photographs, believed to be manifestations of the spirits inhabiting these concealed areas. Paranormal researchers have also noted unusual electronic disturbances within the mansion. Cameras and recorders often malfunction, batteries drain inexplicably, and EMF meters register spikes in areas that are otherwise inactive. These disturbances are often strongest near the rooms where Tiedemann family tragedies occurred, suggesting a residual energy that persists decades after the events themselves. Some ghost hunters believe that the house acts as a kind of memory vessel, replaying fragments of past sorrow and grief through both auditory and visual phenomena. Beyond the Tiedemann family, Franklin Castle's reputation is augmented by rumors of violent events and mysterious deaths. Stories circulate that some servants and tenants met grim fates within the home. Though records are scarce and often contradictory, these tales, whether factual or embellished, feed the narrative of a house steeped in dark energy. Visitors often describe an oppressive atmosphere in certain rooms, a heaviness that presses on the chest and makes movement feel labored. It is as if the mansion itself resents intrusion, guarding its secrets with a quiet, malevolent force. Despite or perhaps because of its reputation, Franklin Castle draws many curious visitors. Daytime tours offer a glimpse into the Tiedemanns' opulent lifestyle and the mansion's architectural details. From intricate woodwork to stained glass windows, Yet, as night falls, the tone shifts dramatically. Those brave enough to enter after dark often report heightened paranormal activity, flickering lights, fleeting shadows, and the feeling of unseen eyes tracking their movements. Some guests recount hearing the faint strains of music, footsteps along the upper halls, or soft crying echoing from the mansion's corners. Each experience reinforces the mansion's status as one of Ohio's most haunted locations. One particularly persistent legend involves the mansion's attic, said to be the scene of numerous tragedies, including the death of a child. The attic is avoided by many, even during guided tours. Visitors who dare enter report sudden drops in temperature, unexplained noises, and the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. Paranormal teams claim to have captured EVP's electronic voice phenomena of children laughing or calling out names, adding another layer to the mansion's chilling narrative. Franklin Castle continues to captivate because it combines tangible history with intangible mystery. The stories of wealth, ambition, tragedy, and loss are interwoven with reports of ghostly activity, creating a setting that is as psychologically compelling as it is visually striking. Every hallway, every hidden passage, seems to hold the potential for an encounter with the past. The mansion serves as a reminder that architecture can carry memory, that grief and sorrow can leave enduring imprints, and that some histories refuse to remain silent. Ultimately, Franklin Castle stands as both a historical treasure and a paranormal enigma. Its dark hallways, secret chambers, and tragic history create an atmosphere that is impossible to ignore. Visitors leave with stories of spectral sightings, chilling sounds, and an uneasy awareness that they have walked among the echoes of the past. Whether skeptic or believer, those who experience Franklin Castle cannot escape the weight of its reputation, nor the lingering sense that the mansion itself watches, remembers, and waits. In Cleveland's Tremont neighborhood, Franklin Castle remains a monument to Victorian ambition, family tragedy, and the enduring power of the haunted. Hocking Hills State Park, nestled near Logan, Ohio, is renowned for its breathtaking cliffs, waterfalls, and winding trails. Yet beneath the natural beauty lies a shadowed reputation, one that draws thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Over the years, the park has accumulated a collection of eerie stories and unexplained phenomena, earning it a reputation as one of Ohio's most haunted natural landscapes. Visitors who wander the forested trails after dark often speak of feeling as if they are being watched. The dense canopy of trees and the steep gorges create pockets of shadow that seem almost alive, and many hikers report sudden drops in temperature along certain paths. Some have claimed to hear whispered voices carried on the wind, though the source remains invisible. These murmurs are often indecipherable, fleeting, and unsettling, leaving the listener with a sense of unease that lingers long after leaving the trail. Several of the park's most haunted spots are concentrated around Old Man's Cave, a narrow gorge framed by towering rock formations. This site has long been linked to legends of mysterious disappearances and tragic accidents. Hikers have told stories of footsteps following them even when they are alone, of fleeting shadows moving across rock walls, and of glimpses of figures vanishing around corners. The echoes within the cavernous spaces can make ordinary sounds, rocks shifting, water dripping, take on a distinctly ghostly quality. Ash Cave, another popular location within Hocking Hills, also carries tales of spectral activity. Some visitors report hearing the distant cry of a child or the sound of someone running along the cliffs above, only to find no one there. The natural acoustics of the cave amplify these sounds, making them seem much closer than they actually are. Yet many attest that the voices bear a quality of urgency and distress that cannot be attributed solely to the environment. Some claim to feel sudden chills, or the sensation of unseen fingers brushing against their arms as they explore the cave floor. Rock House, a shelter-like overhang formed by ancient sandstone, is yet another focal point for ghostly encounters. It is said that a number of hikers have vanished in the area over the decades, leading to tales of restless spirits lingering among the rocks. Witnesses report seeing indistinct shapes moving across the cliffs, as if replaying moments from long ago. On several occasions, Visitors have claimed to find objects, rocks, branches, or personal items arranged in strange patterns after passing through the area, as though invisible hands have left them behind. The park's extensive forested trails are also rife with tales of spectral watchers. Hikers often describe the sensation of eyes following them, particularly along isolated paths far from the main tourist routes. Some recount feeling a presence behind them, only to turn and find empty trails. Others have seen flashes of movement between trees, dark figures standing perfectly still, then disappearing before they can be approached. The dense undergrowth and dim light make it difficult to distinguish shadow from substance. But the consistency of these reports has convinced many that something more than natural phenomena is at play. One of the most persistent stories concerns the phenomenon of sudden disorientation. Numerous hikers have reported that, despite careful attention to their route, they become inexplicably lost, only to find themselves back at a familiar trailhead or a landmark they passed hours before. Some describe hearing whispers guiding them, while others feel a pressure in the air, almost as if the forest itself is bending the path. Paranormal investigators suggest that the lingering spirits of those who once perished or went missing may play a role, unwilling to let the living traverse the park unobserved. Hocking Hills is also home to a variety of legends involving Native American spirits and folklore. Some believe that the natural formations were once sacred sites, and that the park's ghostly phenomena are connected to the echoes of ancient rituals or long-forgotten ceremonies. Witnesses have claimed to see flickers of torchlight or the shadows of figures moving silently along cliff edges, vanishing before they can be reached. Others have reported feelings of intense sadness or inexplicable melancholy near certain rocks or gorges, suggesting an emotional residue left behind by past tragedies. Several modern disappearances and accidents have only added to the park's reputation. Even in recent decades, hikers have gone missing along its secluded trails, and while many are eventually found, some remain unaccounted for, fueling speculation that the park's remote areas may harbor malevolent or restless spirits. Stories of encounters with the unknown continue to emerge, from fleeting glimpses of apparitions to sudden, unexplainable sensations of being touched or followed. Despite or perhaps because of these stories, Hocking Hills remains a popular destination for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost tours and night hikes are offered seasonally, and visitors come equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and EMF meters, hoping to capture evidence of the park's haunted activity. Yet, even skeptics often leave with an uneasy feeling, as if the forest itself has acknowledged their presence and silently observed their intrusion. Ultimately, Hocking Hills State Park is a place where natural beauty and the supernatural coexist. Its cliffs, caves, and trails are breathtaking by day, but as twilight falls, the atmosphere shifts, and the park becomes a realm where whispers linger, shadows move, and the past refuses to remain silent. Whether one attributes the experiences to folklore, psychological suggestion, or actual paranormal activity, the stories are compelling, consistent, and undeniably chilling. For those who visit the park after dark, there is always the lingering sensation that someone or something is watching, waiting, and perhaps guiding their steps through the haunted forests of Hocking Hills. The Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio, is a structure that commands attention long before its history is considered. Built in the late 19th century, the massive stone building was designed to be a model of reform, intended to rehabilitate inmates rather than merely punish them. Yet over decades of operation, the reformatory became a site of suffering, violence, and death. Today, it stands as a museum and tourist attraction. But for those who walk its corridors after hours, or even during guided tours, there is an unmistakable sense that the past has never truly left. Visitors often describe the first eerie sensation upon entering the reformatory as a profound weight in the air. The stone walls, soaring ceilings, and long, narrow hallways seem to absorb sound and amplify shadow, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Even in the middle of the day, some report sudden chills that are impossible to attribute to drafts. Others say their skin crawls as they pass certain cells, feeling a presence that is both watchful and sorrowful. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are unexplained noises. Chains dragging across the floors echo down the hallways, as if prisoners are still being moved between cells. Doors slam without anyone nearby, and locks click with the sound of mechanisms engaging on their own. Visitors have reported the unmistakable sound of footsteps following them through corridors, even when they glance back to find the hall empty. Some describe hearing muffled shouts or whispers, words spoken in frustration or fear, but they can never decipher exactly what is said. The cell blocks themselves hold the brunt of the reformatory's haunting. Inmates and staff, past and present, have spoken of strange apparitions. Tour guides point to certain cells where visitors have felt unseen, hands brush against their arms, or felt an icy breath on the back of their necks. One frequently mentioned cell is said to be haunted by the spirit of a prisoner who died under mysterious circumstances. Witnesses claim to see shadows moving behind barred windows, sometimes even fleeting glimpses of a figure pacing restlessly, as if waiting for a release that will never come. The reformatory's solitary confinement areas are particularly notorious. These small, windowless cells create an environment where any supernatural presence feels magnified. Many visitors recount the sensation of being watched while standing at the doorway, or hearing whispers that seem to come from every corner simultaneously. Paranormal investigators who have spent nights in these spaces report EMF spikes, cold spots, and the persistent feeling of being tugged or nudged by invisible hands. Even the reformatory's execution areas contribute to the building's grim legacy. The electric chair and other remnants of past punishments remain on display, and some claim the spirits of those who died here have never left. Witnesses report shadows darting across the walls, the sensation of a hand touching their shoulder, or hearing a voice crying out just as the machinery would have been activated. These occurrences are often accompanied by sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, giving the impression that the past is pressing in on the present. The corridors leading to the infirmary and hospital wing also harbor unsettling activity. Patients once treated here suffered from both illness and neglect, and many died within these walls. Visitors report hearing coughing, moaning, and the shuffle of feet in empty hallways. Some have claimed to see figures dressed in old hospital garb, moving methodically as if tending to patients who no longer exist. Others experience sudden dizziness or feelings of nausea, as though the emotional residue of suffering remains embedded in the very air. Tour groups often describe moments when cameras and audio recorders malfunction. Batteries die inexplicably, footage becomes distorted, or strange orbs of light appear in photos. EVP recordings frequently capture disembodied voices, some pleading, some angry, and some entirely unintelligible. Guides and investigators alike note that the activity tends to be strongest during the evening, though daytime visitors have occasionally reported fleeting glimpses of figures at the end of long hallways or in shadowed corners. The reformatory's towering ceilings and labyrinthine layout create an environment that naturally amplifies unease. Yet the consistency of reports suggests more than just imagination. Many visitors describe an oppressive, almost sentient quality to the building itself, as if the stone and iron are imbued with the memories of decades of pain, fear, and human suffering. Even skeptical visitors often admit to feeling a sense of being observed, or to sudden, inexplicable chills, especially in the dimly lit wings of the structure. Special events, such as paranormal nights or after-hours tours, often bring the reformatory's haunted reputation to the forefront. Guests equipped with EMF detectors, infrared cameras, and audio recorders frequently capture evidence of unusual activity. Shadows are seen moving against walls, lights flicker without explanation, and some participants report hearing footsteps or voices when no one else is present. Stories accumulate rapidly. A man swearing he saw a prisoner's ghost pacing a hallway, a woman feeling a cold hand brush her shoulder, or a group hearing the sound of chains dragged across the floor as if reenacting an endless procession of suffering. In the end, the Ohio State Reformatory is more than just a building. It is a living record of human experience in its darkest forms. Its haunting draws those intrigued by the paranormal, history, and the uncanny alike. From its echoing hallways to its shadow-filled cells, the reformatory offers a chilling glimpse into the past, reminding all who enter that some places never truly let go of the souls who once lived and died within their walls. Visitors leave with a lingering unease, a heightened awareness of the echoes of history, and the unmistakable impression that, in this monumental structure, the past is never truly silent. The Golden Lamb, nestled in the heart of Lebanon, Ohio, is a place where history and mystery intertwine. Established in 1803, it has earned the distinction of being Ohio's oldest continuously operating hotel, welcoming travelers, dignitaries, and presidents for over 2 centuries. Yet, alongside its storied past of hospitality lies a quieter, more unsettling history, a legacy of unexplained occurrences and ghostly visitors that has made it a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts. The hotel's most famous haunt is said to be a former chambermaid, a spirit who roams the halls long after her earthly duties ended. Guests who have stayed in certain rooms often report hearing the faint sound of cleaning tools or the soft shuffle of footsteps along the corridors late at night. Some describe a gentle presence brushing past their shoulders or the fleeting sensation of being watched when they move about their rooms. It is as though the chambermaid continues her work, tending to the needs of the living, even in death. The upper floors of the hotel are particularly active. Visitors frequently mention seeing shadowy figures move past room doors, disappearing when approached. In some cases, the apparitions have been described as wearing period clothing, echoing the fashion of the hotel's earliest days. Lights flicker unexpectedly in the hallways, and guests have occasionally found objects, such as towels or glasses, moved from where they were left, as if unseen hands were at work. One of the most widely reported phenomena involves the grand stairway, a centerpiece of the hotel's architecture. Several guests recount feeling a chill when passing along the stairs, sometimes accompanied by whispers or low, echoing voices. A few have claimed to see a figure descend the steps, dressed in a maid's uniform from the 19th century, only to vanish midway, leaving behind a faint scent of lavender or old polish. The fleeting vision is enough to send a shiver down the spine, yet it is not considered malevolent. Rather, many believe the spirit is protective, silently observing the comfort and safety of those who stay within the historic walls. The lobby itself, a mixture of modern hospitality and vintage charm, has its own share of oddities. Guests have reported the sound of laughter or soft humming, seemingly coming from empty corners or from behind furniture. Some claim to have glimpsed figures sitting in the plush armchairs, only for them to vanish when they look again. Hotel staff, long accustomed to these unusual events, have learned to respect the presence, often leaving small tokens like a folded towel or a lit candle as an acknowledgement of the unseen visitor. Rooms with a direct connection to the hotel's early history are particularly charged with energy. Guests staying in these rooms often describe waking to the sensation of someone sitting at the edge of the bed or hearing soft footsteps pacing the floor. In some cases, guests report the subtle tug of a hand on a blanket or the quiet, almost imperceptible adjustment of pillows during the night. Those with a sensitivity to the paranormal describe these experiences as comforting, as if the spirit is performing an eternal act of care. The Golden Lamb's dining areas, too, have stories that intrigue investigators. Patrons sometimes hear the clinking of utensils when no service is underway, or the faint murmur of conversation that dissolves as soon as attention is paid. Waitstaff recount glasses moving slightly on tables, chairs sliding across floors, or the sudden chill that passes through the dining room during quiet moments. One particularly famous account involves a guest who felt a gentle tap on the shoulder while dining alone, turning to see no one behind them, yet experiencing a sense of reassurance rather than fear. Staff members have long shared stories passed down through generations. One employee spoke of hearing soft singing late at night, notes floating along the halls in a melody reminiscent of the 1800s. Another recounted finding a room freshly prepared with linens in the morning, even when no cleaning staff had yet attended to it. These subtle, unexplained occurrences have become part of the hotel's charm, drawing visitors who are intrigued by the overlap of history and mystery. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Golden Lamb report strong energy signatures in certain areas, particularly the hallways and rooms associated with the earliest parts of the hotel. EMF readings fluctuate unexpectedly, and audio recordings sometimes capture whispers or faint knocks with no discernible source. In one instance, investigators reported seeing orbs of light drifting along the corridors, moving with deliberate purpose as if guiding their attention to specific points of interest. Despite the eerie tales, the Golden Lamb maintains an atmosphere of warmth and hospitality. Guests describe the hauntings as subtle and often comforting, rather than frightening. Many believe that the spirits are tied to the hotel's long history of service, continuing their devotion to guests even beyond the veil of death. It is this blend of history, charm, and mystery that has cemented the Golden Lamb as a landmark, not only for its architecture and hospitality, but also for its reputation as one of Ohio's most haunted hotels. Whether one comes to the Golden Lamb seeking history, comfort, or a glimpse of the supernatural, the hotel offers an experience that is uniquely layered. The quiet shuffle of ghostly footsteps, the soft whispers, and the fleeting visions all serve as reminders that this historic building is alive, with memories and lingering presences. Visitors leave with stories to share, a sense of wonder, and sometimes a lingering feeling that they are not entirely alone in the halls of Ohio's oldest continuously operating hotel. Punderson State Park, nestled in the rolling forests of Newberry, Ohio, is celebrated for its scenic lake, walking trails, and a charming Tudor-style lodge that sits near its heart. But beyond the serene landscape and recreational opportunities lies a reputation for the strange and supernatural. For decades, visitors and staff alike have reported inexplicable phenomena, earning the park a reputation as one of Ohio's more quietly haunted locations. At the center of many tales is the lodge itself, a structure built in the 1950s, yet imbued with an atmosphere that feels older, almost timeless, as if the trees and lake surrounding it hold on to echoes of the past. The figure most frequently seen is a ghostly man believed to be Lemuel Punderson, the park's namesake. Witnesses describe him as a tall, dignified figure, often appearing in the lodge's common areas or along the veranda, looking out over the lake as though overseeing his land. His presence is rarely overtly threatening, yet it carries a weighty sense of history. Guests have recounted glimpsing him through the corner of their eyes, only for him to vanish when they turn fully in his direction. The figure is often dressed in period clothing, reminiscent of a man from the 19th century, though the exact details fluctuate depending on the witness. Some say they have seen him in a frock coat and vest, others in simple work attire, always appearing solid enough to be real, yet fading like mist the moment attention is focused. The lodge's interior has its own share of eerie reports. Staff working late into the evening often speak of sudden, unexplained noises, the clatter of a chair being moved, a soft thud from a room above, or the unmistakable sound of footsteps padding down the hall when the building is empty. Guests staying overnight have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature, cold enough to make them shiver even with the heat running. In several instances, visitors claim to have felt a presence standing near the foot of their beds, a silent observer whose intentions remain unclear. One common experience involves the lodge's veranda, which overlooks Punderson Lake. Evening visitors sometimes see a solitary figure pacing along the railing, staring out at the water. When approached, the figure disappears entirely, leaving only the faint impression that someone was there. Some describe the figure as being slightly transparent, like a man caught between worlds, while others note the subtle rustle of clothing or the glint of a ring or watch reflecting the fading light. It is as if Lemuel Punderson continues to roam the land he once owned, tied to the park long after death. The surrounding forest adds to the park's unsettling aura. Hikers report sudden chills on the trails, and some describe the sensation of being watched from the trees. Faint, indistinct noises like whispers or low murmurs sometimes drift through the woods, vanishing as quickly as they appear. Nighttime visitors have recounted hearing footsteps crunching over fallen leaves, yet finding the trails empty. Others have seen shadowy figures dart between the trees, only to disappear behind the dense undergrowth. While these experiences often leave a visitor uneasy, they are rarely aggressive, more suggestive of a presence observing, ensuring, or lingering rather than seeking harm. The lodge itself has rooms where the paranormal activity is concentrated. Guests in these rooms have described hearing voices just beyond comprehension, as if someone is speaking softly in the next room or in the hallway outside. On several occasions, objects have been reported moving on their own, a cup sliding across a table, a chair nudged slightly, or a towel tossed from a rack. Many of these incidents are accompanied by cold spots or sudden drafts, leaving visitors with the sensation that someone or something is nearby, quietly interacting with the world of the living. One particularly striking account involves a group of friends staying in the lodge over a weekend. Late at night, they reported the sound of a piano playing softly in the common area, though no piano existed there. The melody was faint but distinctly melancholic, filling the room with an almost tangible sense of longing. When the group investigated, the room was empty, the air still, yet the feeling lingered, as though the music had been a message from the past, an echo of someone's private sorrow made audible to the living. Paranormal investigators who have visited Punderson State Park note unusual electromagnetic readings in certain areas of the lodge and along the trails, often corresponding with reported sightings of Lemuel Punderson or other unexplained phenomena. Audio recordings have occasionally captured faint, indistinct voices, and some investigators report the sensation of being lightly touched or guided while exploring the lodge after dark. Whether these experiences are the result of residual energy spirits tied to the land or a combination of both, they have reinforced the park's reputation as a place where the boundary between the natural and supernatural feels particularly thin. Despite these unsettling occurrences, Punderson State Park remains a beloved destination. Its serene lake, wooded trails, and historic lodge attract countless visitors every year. For those intrigued by the paranormal, the park offers both beauty and mystery. A setting where history, nature, and the unexplained converge. Many who experience the ghostly phenomena leave with a mix of awe and curiosity, reporting a sense that the park is alive with memories and the lingering presence of those who walked the land long before them. From the floating figure of Lemuel Punderson to the unexplained sounds echoing through the lodge and forest, the park maintains an air of subtle, persistent mystery. The hauntings are rarely violent, often described as quiet reminders of the past, like whispers from history itself. Visitors leave Punderson State Park with stories to tell, a sense of wonder, and a lingering awareness that the park's beauty is intertwined with something far older. Watching and waiting in the shadows. Whether one comes seeking nature, history, or the thrill of encountering the unexplained, Punderson State Park offers an experience that lingers long after departure, a place where the past is present, and the spirits of the land continue to wander quietly among the trees and the lodge, keeping their watch for eternity. The Hackett Hotel in Marietta, Ohio, stands as a testament to the grandeur of late 19th century architecture. Yet beneath its elegant facade lies a history steeped in mystery and spectral activity. Built in 1899, the hotel was once a luxurious stop for travelers along the Ohio River, catering to businessmen, politicians, and weary tourists. Over the decades, it has witnessed weddings, celebrations, farewells, and tragedies. With such a long and storied past, it is perhaps unsurprising that many believe the building is alive with the echoes of those who once walked its halls. Guests and staff alike report a range of paranormal phenomena, beginning with the hallways that stretch along each floor. Late at night, when the lobby's lights dim and the last few visitors drift off to their rooms, the corridors take on an eerie stillness. It is during these hours that spectral figures are most often sighted. One common description is of a sharply dressed gentleman seen pacing silently along the upper floors. Witnesses say he appears translucent, his footsteps echoing softly on the wooden floors even when no one else is present. Some claim he glances toward the doors of unoccupied rooms, as if checking on the guests or reliving some routine from long ago, before disappearing entirely when approached. Other visitors have reported more alarming activity. Doors are said to slam without warning, and the gentle creak of floorboards is sometimes followed by the sound of distant laughter or murmured voices. In certain rooms, guests have described objects moving seemingly on their own, a chair slightly shifted, a towel or coat draped across a different piece of furniture than where it had been left. Some even claim that beds feel pressed down or as if someone has briefly sat upon them, though no one is present. The hotel staff, many of whom have worked at the Hackett for decades, accept these occurrences with a quiet acknowledgement. Some speak of them as part of the building's personality, a residual energy from its storied past that refuses to fade. One of the most frequently reported spirits is that of a woman in an old-fashioned dress, believed to have died tragically within the hotel over a century ago. Guests have recounted seeing her descending the grand staircase, her gaze distant and sorrowful. She never speaks, and her movements are deliberate, almost as if she is following a strict routine that has persisted beyond death. Those who have encountered her describe a profound sense of melancholy, as though the weight of her grief is tangible in the air. Occasionally, witnesses report that her appearance is accompanied by a sudden chill, a drop in temperature that seems to follow her presence through the hallways before dissipating once she vanishes. The lobby itself is not immune to the unexplained. At odd hours, visitors and employees have heard the low murmur of conversations, indistinct and fragmented, emanating from empty chairs or across the polished floors. Faint footsteps often accompany these whispers, as if unseen patrons are passing through the space. Some guests have even reported hearing the tinkle of glasses or the soft clink of silverware, though no one is there to make the sound. The effect is subtle, but persistent, leaving those who experience it with an unsettling sense that the past is brushing against the present. The upper floors of the Hackett have their own mysteries. Certain rooms carry reputations for stronger hauntings than others, with reports of apparitions, sudden cold spots, and inexplicable sounds. One recurring account involves a room where a shadowy figure appears at the foot of the bed, standing silently as if waiting for the occupants to awaken. Guests who have stayed in this room report feelings of being observed, an invisible presence hovering just beyond perception. Others claim that knocking or tapping can be heard from within the walls, sometimes forming patterns that seem intentional, as though someone or something is attempting to communicate. Stairs and hallways are also frequent sites of paranormal activity. The creaking of steps in empty corridors, fleeting glimpses of figures disappearing around corners, and even the sensation of being brushed past by unseen hands contribute to the hotel's reputation. Employees recount stories of cleaning staff feeling as though they are being followed, hearing their names whispered in hushed tones, or seeing lights flicker for no reason. Even the elevator has been the site of unexplained incidents, stopping on floors when no call button was pressed, or opening to reveal an empty car while a cold draft fills the space. Despite these occurrences, the Hackett Hotel remains a functioning establishment and a popular destination for those seeking both comfort and the thrill of the paranormal. Guests often leave with stories of encounters that defy logical explanation, and many return to experience the building's enigmatic energy firsthand. Paranormal investigators have visited the site repeatedly, capturing odd readings on EMF meters, audio anomalies, and fleeting visual disturbances on cameras. Whether these phenomena are the result of residual energy, lingering spirits, or a combination of both, the effect on visitors is undeniable, a blend of intrigue, unease, and fascination. The hotel's appeal lies in its seamless combination of history and mystery. Its original architectural features, grand staircases, wooden beams, and ornate moldings create an atmosphere perfectly suited for stories of the supernatural. Guests often remark that the building feels alive, not just with memories of the past, but with entities that refuse to remain hidden. The lingering presence of spectral figures, inexplicable sounds, and sudden temperature shifts creates an experience unlike any other, where the line between reality and the unseen becomes blurred. From the shadowy man in the hallways to the sorrowful woman on the staircase, The Hackett Hotel embodies more than just a place to sleep. It's a living museum of the past, a repository of memories, tragedies, and mysteries that refuse to fade. Visitors leave with more than photographs and souvenirs. They carry with them a sense of the unknown, a brush with something just beyond comprehension, and stories that will continue to intrigue long after they return home. In every creak of the floorboards, in every sudden chill, in every fleeting figure glimpsed at the edge of vision, the Hackett Hotel whispers its enduring secrets. Those who enter its doors may come for a night's stay, but they leave with a haunting experience that lingers in the mind, echoing through the hallways and calling them back to a place where the past never truly dies. The Ridges Cemetery in Athens, Ohio, sits quietly on the outskirts of the town, an overgrown expanse of tombstones, markers, and forgotten monuments. It is a place where time seems to slow, and the air carries a weight that is almost tangible. Adjacent to the infamous Athens Lunatic Asylum, now known as the Ridges, the cemetery is the final resting place for countless former patients, many of whom died under circumstances that were tragic, misunderstood, or simply lost to history. Over the decades, the grounds have earned a reputation for being haunted, drawing curious visitors, paranormal investigators, and those drawn to the macabre. At first glance, the cemetery appears merely neglected, with weeds curling around weathered headstones and ivy creeping across cracked stone. But those who linger after sunset speak of an entirely different experience. Shadows stretch across the graves in unnatural ways, and a heavy silence dominates, broken only by the whisper of wind or the distant calls of nocturnal animals. It is in these quiet moments that visitors often sense a presence, something watching, lingering, or moving among the stones. Many describe feeling a cold pressure, a weight on the chest or shoulders that seems to follow them from one plot to another. Whispers are a common occurrence reported at the cemetery, though their source is elusive. Some describe faint voices carrying fragments of words, like half-remembered conversations. Others hear urgent murmurs, almost pleading in tone, only to realize they are alone. A frequent tale involves a visitor walking down a narrow path when a soft whisper brushes against their ear, calling their name, or uttering a phrase in a tone so desperate it sends a shiver down their spine. Turning around yields nothing but empty graves and twisted branches. Many say these voices are the remnants of the asylum's patients, echoes of those who were silenced too soon, trapped between life and death. Some paranormal enthusiasts claim that the energy in the cemetery is strongest near the older sections, where the earliest patients were buried. Here, the ground is uneven, and the tombstones are tilted or crumbling, as if the earth itself is reluctant to hold the memories of those beneath. Witnesses report strange lights flickering in the distance, small orbs hovering above the ground or darting between trees. Some insist these are manifestations of the restless spirits, their souls wandering the grounds, unable to find peace. Others have captured unexplained shadows on cameras, moving independently of wind or light. The sense of unease at the Ridges Cemetery is amplified by its isolation. The cemetery is overgrown, and trails are uneven, making navigation difficult, especially after dusk. Visitors often report a feeling of being watched even when no one else is present. Footsteps on gravel paths echo in the night, sometimes mimicking their own steps, sometimes appearing behind them without warning. Some people have experienced sudden drops in temperature in specific areas, the cold seeping into bones despite a warm summer evening. A number of recurring apparitions have been reported by those brave enough to wander the cemetery. One common figure is a shadowy man or woman standing among the graves, often motionless, watching silently before vanishing when approached. Another frequent sighting is that of a fleeting silhouette near the older headstones, disappearing into the mist as if carried away by the night air. Many visitors describe an overwhelming feeling of sorrow or despair in the presence of these apparitions, a sadness that feels almost palpable, as if the emotions of the dead have seeped into the soil itself. Locals share stories of more intense encounters. One tale tells of a man who wandered the cemetery at night, and claim to see a procession of ghostly figures moving silently between the gravestones, their heads bowed in eternal mourning. Another recounts hearing a chorus of distant cries and laughter, a sound both innocent and chilling, echoing across the grounds. Some visitors report that their electronics malfunctioned near certain graves, cameras failing, flashlights flickering, and phones shutting off inexplicably, phenomena often cited by paranormal investigators as signs of heightened spiritual activity. The Ridges Cemetery is not just haunted by spirits, but also by the weight of history. The asylum's tragic past, where patients were often confined, neglected, and sometimes subjected to harsh treatments, seems to linger in the air. Every cracked headstone and overgrown path tells a story of sorrow, of lives cut short or misunderstood, leaving behind a sense of injustice that some believe prevents the spirits from resting. Visitors often report a mixture of fascination and unease, drawn to the cemetery for its history while unnerved by the sensations it evokes. Despite the fear it can inspire, many people continue to visit the Ridges Cemetery, some seeking a brush with the supernatural, others wanting to pay respects to the forgotten souls buried there. Paranormal groups frequently conduct investigations, capturing EVP recordings, photographing unexplained lights, and noting temperature anomalies. Whether skeptics or believers, nearly everyone leaves the cemetery feeling that it is a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, where memories of pain and loss linger like a fog over the graves. In the end, the Ridges Cemetery is a haunting reminder of the lives that once were, the suffering endured, and the souls that may still linger among the stones. Its combination of history, isolation, and unexplainable phenomena makes it one of Ohio's most chilling locations. Visitors walk its paths with caution, curiosity, and respect, knowing that the cemetery is alive in a way that extends far beyond the living, whispering stories of the past and shadows that never rest. The old Licking County Jail in Newark, Ohio, stands as a grim relic of the past, its brick facade weathered by over a century of harsh weather and human despair. Constructed in 1889, the building served as both a jail and a sheriff's office, its halls echoing with the lives and sorrows of countless inmates. Over the decades, the jail became infamous not only for the crimes committed within its walls, but also for the harsh conditions endured by those imprisoned there. Today, it is a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and thrill-seekers, all drawn by stories of spirits that refuse to rest. Visitors entering the old Licking County Jail often remark on the oppressive atmosphere that immediately settles over the building. The narrow hallways, lined with iron-barred cells, seem darker and colder than one would expect, even on bright sunny days. Many report a sudden drop in temperature upon entering, a chill that seeps into the bones and refuses to dissipate. Some describe a heaviness in the air, as if the collective suffering of past inmates has left an indelible mark, pressing down on anyone who dares to walk the corridors. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at the jail is the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Visitors often hear heavy, deliberate steps pacing back and forth, sometimes accompanied by the clinking of chains. The noises are most frequently heard late at night, long after the building has been vacated. Some say the sounds follow them from cell to cell, appearing to come from directly behind, only to vanish when they turn to look. Paranormal investigators have captured these footfalls on audio recordings, along with unexplained rattles and thuds that cannot be attributed to structural creaks or outside noise. Voices are another eerie feature of the jail. Staff and visitors alike have reported hearing disembodied whispers, murmurs, and even shouts. Often, these voices call out names or numbers, resembling the roll call of inmates long gone. Some have described hearing anguished cries echoing from the cells, as if prisoners are reliving their suffering over and over again. One investigator recounted recording a voice calling, "Help me, let me out," in a cell that had been empty for decades, the sound chilling in its desperation and intensity. Certain areas of the jail seem to harbor stronger activity than others. The old solitary confinement cells are infamous among those who explore the building. People who have dared to step inside describe a stifling sense of dread, as though the walls themselves are closing in. A pervasive feeling of being watched is often reported, accompanied by fleeting shadows that vanish when observed directly. Cold spots, sudden gusts of air, and an inexplicable heaviness are all commonly experienced in these cells, making them the epicenter of the building's paranormal reputation. The jail's death row section also holds its share of unsettling tales. Records indicate that several inmates met untimely ends within these walls, either through execution, illness, or violence. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures seated in the old chairs or pacing the floor, their faces obscured, their forms barely discernible. Some claim to hear the clatter of metal instruments and the low murmur of prisoners praying. Though the area has been closed for years, paranormal teams often experience a spike in electronic readings in this part of the jail, as if residual energy from the past still lingers, waiting to be acknowledged. Another chilling report involves the building's main hallway. Many have described the sensation of being touched or pulled while walking its length. Some say they feel invisible hands pressing against their shoulders or grabbing at their arms. Others have reported doors slamming on their own, locks clicking, and lights flickering without cause. One visitor even claimed that the temperature dropped so suddenly that their breath became visible, despite it being midsummer. The old Licking County Jail is not only haunted by spectral presences, but also by the weight of its own history. Overcrowding, mistreatment, and harsh punishments were common in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and the memories of these injustices seem to resonate throughout the building. Many who have explored the jail feel a strong sense of sorrow and despair, as though the spirits trapped there are eternally reliving the pain of their confinement. Witnesses often leave the building shaken, a lingering unease that persists long after they have walked out the front doors. Sightings of apparitions are another recurring element of the jail's paranormal lore. Some visitors report shadowy figures moving silently through the cells, while others claim to have glimpsed pale, indistinct faces pressed against the bars. A few have described full-bodied apparitions of former inmates or guards, appearing to watch the living intruders with cold, unblinking eyes. The figures vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving behind only the echoes of footsteps or a faint chill in the air. Despite or perhaps because of its reputation, the old Licking County Jail continues to attract visitors from across Ohio and beyond. Paranormal investigators frequently conduct overnight studies, using cameras, audio recorders, and EMF meters to document activity. Some leave offerings or notes to communicate with the spirits, hoping for a response. The combination of documented history, tragic deaths, and unexplainable phenomena ensures that the building remains one of the state's most compelling haunted locations. The old Licking County Jail serves as a haunting reminder of the past, a place where history and the supernatural intersect. Its narrow corridors, cold cells, and lingering shadows speak to the suffering endured within its walls, while the unexplained sounds, apparitions, and ghostly touches offer a chilling glimpse into the other side. Visitors who step inside are forced to confront both the physical remnants of confinement and the spiritual echoes left behind. In this sense, the jail is more than a historical building, is a repository of lost souls, a dark testament to the lives lived and the restless spirits that refuse to be forgotten. Whether approached as a site of historical curiosity or paranormal exploration, the old Licking County Jail remains a place where the line between the living and the dead is thin. Those who enter often do so with fascination, but they leave with a profound sense of respect, and sometimes fear for the countless spirits that linger in the shadows. Echoing the jail's storied and sorrowful past, the West Toledo Branch Library, a brick building with a storied past, has long served the community as a place of learning and quiet reflection. Built in 1930, it stands as a testament to Toledo's commitment to public education. But beneath its calm exterior lies a darker, unexplained presence. Over the years, visitors, staff, and paranormal enthusiasts have reported unsettling phenomena. that have given the library a reputation as one of the area's haunted locales. Among these reports, the most persistent involve the ghost of a man from the 1940s, whose presence seems bound to the west wall fireplace, an area steeped in both history and eerie occurrences. Patrons first noticed something unusual when quiet moments in the library were punctuated by inexplicable sounds. Books would fall from shelves without apparent cause. Chairs would scrape across the floor, and low thumps echoed through the west wing. Staff initially chalked these events up to the building's settling or stray drafts, but the incidents grew more frequent and specific, often centering around the fireplace. Visitors reported feeling sudden cold spots near the hearth, even during warm summer months, and a subtle sensation that someone was watching them as they passed the west wall. The figure, described as a man dressed in mid-20th century attire, has been seen by multiple witnesses over the decades. His clothing is said to reflect the fashion of the 1940s, a simple, dark suit with a narrow tie and a hat that he sometimes removes in silent acknowledgement. While he does not speak, his presence is unmistakable, often appearing as a shadowy figure standing near the fireplace or drifting silently along the stacks. Witnesses describe his gaze as both distant and knowing, a hollow awareness that seems to follow anyone who ventures too close. Some of the most unnerving experiences involve physical sensations. Several library staff have reported feeling cold hands brush their shoulders, or the sudden weight of a presence behind them while shelving books. A few visitors have even described a strange tugging sensation, as though being gently guided toward the west wall. Those who attempt to confront the figure or engage with it often find it fading before their eyes, leaving only the smell of old paper and a faint hint of tobacco smoke. Paranormal investigators have noted electronic disturbances in the area, including flickering lights and sudden interference with recording equipment, suggesting a concentrated spiritual energy in the West Wing. On more than one occasion, the ghost has been tied to specific behaviors within the library. Books left open on tables are sometimes found on the floor, pages ruffled as if a restless hand has turned them. Researchers and visitors have reported hearing the soft rustle of paper or the faint sound of someone walking on the worn wooden floors, though no one is present. The west wall fireplace, in particular, seems to act as a focal point, with the majority of the activity reported in that corner. It is believed that the spirit may have had a connection to this part of the library in life, perhaps a regular patron or a member of the staff, and that his presence lingers due to unfinished business or a strong attachment to the building. Despite the unsettling nature of these occurrences, many who encounter the spirit describe it as more sorrowful than malevolent. There is a sense of lingering loneliness in his appearances, a feeling of someone tethered between worlds rather than seeking harm. Some patrons have noted that the disturbances seem to intensify when the library is empty, as though the ghost is most comfortable when the building is silent and abandoned, allowing him to move freely through the stacks. Others have suggested that he may be attempting to interact in subtle ways, showing himself only to those who pay careful attention or who venture near the west wall fireplace. In addition to sightings and physical sensations, there have been reports of auditory phenomena that further reinforce the library's haunted reputation. Low, almost imperceptible humming has been heard drifting from the fireplace area, sometimes forming into distinct tones that resemble the faint recitation of words or phrases. Visitors have described the sound as comforting yet unsettling, like someone murmuring to themselves in quiet despair. Coupled with the sudden bumps, knocks, and shifting objects, these auditory cues create an atmosphere that is both eerie and compelling. Paranormal investigators have made multiple attempts to document and understand the spirit. EMF meters often spike near the west wall fireplace, while thermal cameras have recorded unexplained cold spots and shadowy figures moving through the stacks. Audio equipment occasionally captures faint whispers that cannot be attributed to any present individuals. While skeptics attribute much of the activity to the building's age and natural settling, the consistency of eyewitness accounts over decades lends credibility to the belief that a spirit remains in residence. Visitors who are aware of the library's haunted reputation often describe a mixture of fear and fascination. Some intentionally spend hours near the west wall fireplace, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ghostly figure or to sense the subtle energy that permeates the area. Others report leaving the library with an unshakable feeling of having encountered something otherworldly, a presence that defies explanation but feels undeniably real. For many, the West Toledo Branch Library becomes not just a place of reading and study, but a portal into a hidden, spectral history that exists alongside the living world. The legend of the West Toledo Branch Library reminds visitors that even places devoted to learning and quiet contemplation can hold secrets beyond the physical realm. Between the whispers, the cold spots, and the sightings of a solitary figure, the library stands as a testament to the enduring presence of history and, perhaps, the people who lived it. Those who step into its halls are invited to explore not only the world of books, but also the shadowy, unexplained phenomena that continue to intrigue and haunt this historic Ohio institution. The Springhouse Gazebo in Eden Park, Cincinnati, is a structure that has graced the landscape for generations. With its domed roof and elegant columns, it is one of the city's most photographed landmarks, often seen in wedding pictures, postcards, and promotional images of the park. To the casual visitor, it seems to be nothing more than a quaint and charming spot to rest and admire the surrounding scenery. But behind its beauty lies a much darker reputation. For decades, stories have circulated of a ghostly figure, believed to be the spirit of a young woman who drowned in the nearby lake. Her restless presence, tied to both the water and the gazebo, has made this site one of Cincinnati's most enduring local legends. The origins of the haunting are said to date back to the late 19th or early 20th century, when Eden Park was still young and its man-made reservoir and lakes were popular, with locals seeking a retreat from the bustle of city life. According to legend, a young woman, sometimes described as a bride-to-be, sometimes as a carefree socialite, fell into the waters near the gazebo. Whether she slipped on the stone steps, was swept by a sudden current, or met with foul play is uncertain. What is remembered, however, is that she never came back to shore. Her body was recovered days later, and the tragedy imprinted itself onto the site, casting a shadow that lingers even now. Visitors today often describe an inexplicable heaviness near the gazebo, as if the very air grows thicker the closer one approaches. On warm summer evenings, when the lake reflects the fading sun, some have heard the distinct sound of splashing water, violent and urgent, as though someone is struggling beneath the surface. Yet when they rush to look, the lake is calm, undisturbed, its ripples only those caused by the wind or the occasional duck gliding across. Others report a different kind of disturbance, the sudden awareness of being watched. Couples strolling through the gazebo sometimes stop in their tracks, chilled by the sensation of eyes upon them. Photographers, too, have noted strange anomalies in their pictures' blurry shapes, streaks of light, or the faint impression of a woman in flowing garments standing just beyond the gazebo's columns. These images, when examined, show details too distinct to dismiss as simple camera errors. The most chilling stories come from those who linger alone in the gazebo after dusk. A handful of witnesses claim to have heard faint sobbing, low and mournful, carried on the breeze. The sound drifts across the stone floor, echoing softly, as though the structure itself holds on to the memory of her grief. Some describe the sobs giving way to whispers, indecipherable yet undeniably human. In a few accounts, the whispers grow louder, forming into what seems like a single word: help. Paranormal investigators who have studied the gazebo often bring recording devices, hoping to capture evidence of the spirits said to haunt it. Many have reported EVPC, electronic voice phenomena, that contain faint cries, the sound of water sloshing, or even what seems to be a woman's voice calling out. Cold spots are another commonly reported phenomenon, occurring most often near the center of the gazebo. On warm days, the sudden drop in temperature can be startling, leaving visitors shivering as though they had stepped into the depths of the lake itself. Though the identity of the woman is lost to history, speculation continues to fuel the legend. Some believe she was a young bride who came to Eden Park with her only for tragedy to strike before her wedding day. Others suggest she was a lonely woman who sought solace by the water, her despair leading her into the lake. A darker theory insists she may have been pushed, her death the result of jealousy or betrayal, forever binding her spirit to the gazebo where she was last seen alive. The haunting has become part of the cultural fabric of Cincinnati. Locals pass the story down through generations, and the gazebo remains a destination for those intrigued by the paranormal. Even those who don't claim to believe often admit to feeling unsettled when they visit at night, as if the legend alone is enough to stir the imagination. Couples may arrive to admire the romantic beauty of the gazebo, only to leave with a lingering unease that tarnishes the charm of their outing. Perhaps the most poignant detail of the haunting is the way it is tied to water. Nearly every report involves the sound of splashing, dripping, or rushing liquid, despite the stillness of the nearby lake. This connection has led some to speculate that the woman's spirit is not bound to the gazebo itself, but to the water where she met her fate. The gazebo, being so close, merely serves as a stage upon which her presence reveals itself. It is as though her final moments play out endlessly, her struggle and sorrow echoing through time for anyone willing to listen. Skeptics, of course, argue that the sounds and sensations reported at the Springhouse gazebo can be explained by natural causes. The wind moving through the open structure can create odd acoustics, turning faint noises into whispers. Wildlife in and around the lake could account for splashes and cries mistaken for something supernatural. Even the cold spots, they say, might be the result of shifting air currents. But those who have stood there in the silence of night, with the shadows long and the water black, know there is more to the story. The Springhouse gazebo stands as a paradox, a place of beauty and leisure during the day, and a stage for the unexplained after dark. The spirit said to haunt it is not violent, but mournful, her presence lingering like a sad melody carried on the wind, for visitors who pause within its columns. The legend offers a sobering reminder that even the loveliest places can harbor tragedy, and that some stories never truly fade with time. Those who listen closely may hear her still the lost woman of Eden Park, reaching out from the depths of history, her sorrow etched forever into the echoes of the gazebo. The Chagrin Valley Athletic Club in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, stands today as a place of recreation, wellness, and community. But its walls hold a much darker history, one that lingers in whispers and unexplained sounds. Long before it became a modern facility, the building served as a schoolhouse, a place meant for learning and growth. Yet it is here that tragedy struck, leaving behind a restless spirit whose cries are still said to echo through the halls. The legend centers on a young girl, a student at the school during the late 19th century. According to local lore, she was subjected to severe punishment at the hands of a cruel schoolmistress. Discipline during that era was often harsh, but the girl's suffering was said to have gone far beyond what was acceptable, with the teacher using a whip to enforce obedience. The child did not survive the ordeal, and her untimely death marked the building with sorrow that would never fade. Her story was passed down through generations, becoming inseparable from the identity of the building, even as it changed purposes. Today, members of the athletic club may enter expecting only the quiet hum of treadmills, the echo of basketballs in the gym, or the hush of turning pages in the library area. Yet many have left with experiences far stranger than simple workouts or quiet reading sessions. Some describe the distinct sound of a whip cracking against the air, sharp and sudden, as though punishment is still being carried out in unseen corners. Others have reported the unmistakable cries of a child, soft at first, then escalating into sobs that seem to pierce the silence. These sounds often come from the quiet library space, a room meant for peace and reflection, but one that instead carries the weight of grief. Staff members over the years have grown accustomed to uneasy occurrences. Books have been found scattered across tables, as if brushed aside by unseen hands. Lights flicker without cause, and the air grows inexplicably heavy in certain parts of the building. One employee described entering the library late at night, only to hear faint footsteps circling the room, though no one else was inside. The sensation of being watched has become so common that few remain there alone after hours. Paranormal investigators who have explored the athletic club often point to the consistency of reports. Many independent witnesses, with no knowledge of the building's history, have described the same chilling phenomena. The whip crack, the child's cries, and the oppressive presence in the library. Some teams have captured recordings of faint weeping. The sound barely audible, yet distinct enough to send chills through anyone who hears it. Photographs occasionally reveal strange streaks of light, and one infamous image showed what appeared to be the outline of a small figure standing in the shadows. Her posture slumped, as though weighed down by sorrow. The girl's identity remains unknown, her story surviving only through fragments of rumor and whispered memory. Some claim she was an orphan, placed in the school by guardians who hoped strict education would mold her future. Others insist she was the daughter of a poor local family, sent to the school despite her reluctance. In every version of the tale, however, her fate is the same: punishment delivered in cruelty, and a young life cut short. Though the building has long since shifted from a place of harsh lessons to one of exercise and leisure, it seems the spirit has never left. Members of the athletic club often note how out of place the paranormal activity feels within its current environment. To run on a treadmill or practice yoga while sensing the faint sobs of a child is disorienting, a clash of modern purpose and lingering past, yet the experiences are too numerous to ignore. One particularly chilling story comes from a club member who, after finishing a late-night workout, decided to stop by the library to unwind. The room was empty, quiet, the shelves neatly arranged, but as they settled into a chair, the sound of pages rustling began, though no one touched the books. Then came the faintest sound of crying, rising slowly until it was unmistakable. The member described the sensation of a cold hand brushing against their arm, sending them running from the room. They refused to return at night ever again. Another account tells of a fitness instructor who stayed after hours to clean up equipment. Alone in the gym, they heard what sounded like rapid footsteps running across the wooden floor above. Thinking a member had lingered, they went to check, only to find the space empty. Moments later, the whip crack resounded, sharp and terrifying, from the direction of the library. The instructor fled immediately, shaken by the raw intensity of the sound. The legend of the Chagrin Valley Athletic Club has grown into one of Ohio's lesser-known but deeply unsettling ghost stories. While the site does not draw the same crowds as infamous haunted prisons or historic mansions, those who have experienced its strangeness speak with conviction. The girl's cries, the whip's cruel echo, and the sense of a child's presence persist, defying time and renovation. Some believe the girl lingers not out of vengeance but out of sorrow, her spirit tied to the place where her young life ended unjustly. Others wonder if she remains in search of kindness she never received in life, hoping someone will hear her cries and finally bring her peace. Whatever the case, her story is a reminder that even places dedicated to joy and renewal can carry shadows of the past. The Chagrin Valley Athletic Club may be a hub for modern activity, but to those who pause in its quiet corners, it is also a monument to a forgotten tragedy. The girl who once suffered here has not been forgotten, her spirit etched into the walls, her cries ensuring that her story is never fully silenced. For visitors who hear her, the building is more than a place of exercise. It is a haunting testament to the cruelty of the past and the endurance of a child's voice that refuses to fade. The Mudhouse Mansion in Fairfield County, Ohio, was once one of the state's most infamous haunted sites. Even though it was demolished in 2015, the legends tied to the property linger like a shadow, refusing to vanish with the bricks and beams. For decades, the crumbling house drew thrill-seekers, paranormal investigators, and curious locals, each drawn by its eerie reputation and the unsettling energy that seemed to cling to its grounds. To this day, the land where the mansion once stood carries an oppressive presence, as though the past refuses to release its grip. The mansion was a towering structure, built in the 1800s, its red brick walls looming over the surrounding countryside. Abandoned for much of its later life, it became a place of fascination and fear. Its broken windows, sagging roof, and decaying staircases seemed a whisper of dark stories, and countless tales sprang up around it. Of all the legends, the most infamous claimed that a government official once owned the property after the Civil War and illegally kept slaves locked up in its basement. According to lore, the captives eventually rose against him, killing their captor and fleeing into the night. Some versions even suggest their spirits remained imprisoned, pacing within the house long after their bodies were free. Visitors often described the atmosphere of the place as suffocating. Even standing at the edge of the property, people felt watched, as though unseen eyes tracked their every movement. The closer they came to the mansion itself, the heavier the air grew. Those who dared to step inside told of sudden temperature drops, the sharp clatter of footsteps echoing in empty rooms, and whispers drifting down the hallways. Some swore they heard the sound of chains dragging across the floorboards, while others claimed they could make out faint moans, as though the house itself was still filled with prisoners. The mud house became a rite of passage for many local teenagers, who would dare each other to enter the decaying structure under the cover of night. Their stories often followed the same thread: shadows moving in the corners of their vision, the sensation of being brushed by unseen hands, and an overwhelming sense of dread that sent them fleeing before long. A few returned with more chilling tales, like seeing ghostly figures peering from the upper windows, their faces pale and sorrowful. One group even described hearing a woman's scream tear through the night. Though the mansion was empty when they searched, paranormal investigators frequently visited the site before its demolition, and many walked away convinced the legends held some truth. Recordings captured disembodied voices calling out in anguish, sometimes begging for release. Electromagnetic meters spiked wildly in certain rooms, especially near the cellar, where the slave legend claimed the prisoners were kept. One investigator recalled the moment their flashlight flickered out in the basement, leaving them in total darkness. In the silence, they heard what sounded like multiple footsteps circling them, though no one else was present. Terrified, they scrambled up the stairs, and the light returned the moment they reached the top. But it was not only tales of suffering that surrounded the mansion. Some stories leaned into darker, more sinister energy. A persistent rumor spoke of a man who slaughtered his family within the house, their restless spirits still roaming its halls. Others suggested the mansion had become a gathering place for occult rituals during its years of abandonment, with symbols reportedly found scrawled on its walls. Whether true or not, these stories only added to the growing aura of fear, making the Mudhouse Mansion one of Ohio's most feared locations. Even after its demolition, people report strange occurrences on the land where the house once stood. Those who pass by at night claim to see faint lights flickering where the windows used to be, as if lanterns still burn within a house that no longer exists. Some drivers describe shadowy figures crossing the road near the property, vanishing before they reach the other side. A handful of visitors insist they still hear cries drifting on the wind, as though the earth itself has absorbed the sorrow of the mansion's past. Local historians have long debated the truth behind the stories. There is no concrete evidence that slaves were ever kept at the mansion after the Civil War, and much of its reputation is built on oral legend. Yet the sheer number of reports, spanning decades and generations, makes it difficult to dismiss entirely. Something about the property left an undeniable impression on those who encountered it, an impression strong enough to survive even when the physical structure did not. One particularly chilling account comes from a man who visited the site just a year before it was torn down. He and a friend stood outside, gazing up at the weathered facade, when they noticed a figure standing in an upper window. At first, they thought it was another visitor, but as they watched, the figure faded into nothing. A moment later, they heard heavy footsteps descending the staircase inside, growing louder and louder, until they seemed to thunder just beyond the front door. Terrified, they fled the property, never daring to return. The Mudhouse Mansion remains etched into Ohio's haunted lore, a place where history, tragedy, and imagination blur into a chilling tapestry. Whether or not the stories of hidden slaves, family murders, or occult practices are true, the weight of belief has given the land a life of its own. Its reputation was not buried with its demolition. Instead, it continues to grow, passed down in hushed voices, a warning to those who might wander too close. Today, the field where the mansion once stood is empty. Yet those who pause there often leave with the same lingering feeling, the sense that something unseen is still there, watching, waiting. The house may be gone, but the spirits tied to its legend remain, bound not to wood and brick, but to the very ground itself. The Mudhouse Mansion's story did not end in 2015. If anything, its ghost lives on stronger than ever, refusing to fade into silence. Squire's Castle, nestled within the lush expanse of the North Chagrin Reservation in Willoughby Hills, Ohio, is a place where history and legend intertwine to create an atmosphere of haunting allure. Though the castle is technically a ruina, shell of what was once intended to be a grand country estate, the structure's striking stone walls and arched windows continue to draw visitors. Yet, beyond its picturesque appearance, a darker tale lingers. The ghostly presence of Louisa Squire, wife of the castle's builder, Fergus B. Squire. Her spirit, according to legend, still roams the grounds, bound to a tragedy that occurred within these walls. Fergus B. Squire, a wealthy oil executive and one of the founders of the Standard Oil Company, constructed the castle in the late 1800s. He envisioned it as a gatehouse for a sprawling estate, a retreat from the hustle of Cleveland's industrial sprawl. Built in the style of a medieval hunting lodge, the castle was never meant to be lived in permanently, but it served as a weekend retreat and a symbol of wealth and grandeur. Yet, for all its ambition, the estate was never completed, leaving behind only the castle itself, which time and nature would eventually reduce to a skeleton of stone. The legend most closely associated with Squire's Castle tells the tragic story of Louisa Squire, Fergus's wife. Louisa, as the tale goes, was uneasy about the remote estate. She disliked the isolation of the surrounding woods and was particularly disturbed by the castle's unfinished interior, with its dark, cavernous rooms and creaking floors. Some versions of the story suggest that she suffered from recurring nightmares about the place, dreams so vivid and terrifying that she feared they were warnings of some looming doom. One stormy night, Louisa's fears allegedly came to life. While Fergus was away, she wandered through the castle, carrying a lantern, unable to sleep. Startled by a sound in the darkness, perhaps a rattling shutter, or perhaps something more sinister, she stumbled and fell down the staircase. The lantern shattered, and in the chaos, Louisa was killed, either from the fall itself or, as some say, from smoke inhalation. As the flames briefly licked the walls, since that tragic night, it is said that her spirit has been tied to the castle, forever haunting the ruins where her life ended so abruptly. Visitors to Squire's Castle over the years have reported chilling encounters. Many claim to have seen the apparition of a woman in white drifting through the castle's empty archways. She is most often seen near the area where the grand staircase once stood, as if retracing her final steps. Others describe sudden drops in temperature, even on warm summer days, particularly in the basement and main hall. A few have heard the faint sound of sobbing echoing through the stone corridors, only to find the castle empty. Some of the most unsettling accounts come from those who visit at night. Groups of friends daring one another to enter after dark have reported a heavy, oppressive feeling settling over them, as though they are being watched. A few have described seeing flickering lights, like the glow of a lantern, moving through the windows when no one is inside. More than one visitor has walked away convinced that Louisa herself is still searching the castle, her restless soul reliving the tragedy again and again. Over time, Squire's Castle has become not just a haunting landmark, but a focal point of Ohio's ghost lore. Paranormal investigators have conducted research there, using equipment to capture possible evidence of Louisa's presence. Some claim to have recorded faint female voices, while others captured unexplained photographs, blurs of light or shadowy figures that seemed to materialize where no one was standing. Skeptics, of course, argue that the stories are fueled by imagination and the eerie setting of the castle itself. But for those who have felt the icy chill or glimpsed a fleeting shadow, doubt is difficult to maintain. Adding to the legend is the unfinished nature of the estate. Many believe that the incomplete project contributed to the sense of unease surrounding the castle, as though it was never truly meant to be a place of peace. With its hollow rooms and gaping windows, the structure looks like a place suspended between worlds, a physical ruin haunted by an emotional ruin. Louisa's supposed dread of the building only enhances the idea that the castle carries a kind of curse, making it impossible for the Squire family to ever find solace there. Even though the castle is now a public landmark maintained by the Cleveland Metro Parks, the legends persist. Families picnic on the grounds, hikers pass by on trails, and children play in the open halls, yet many still pause to look over their shoulders. A sense of mystery clings to the castle, as though Louisa is still nearby, keeping watch. Whether she appears as a fleeting figure in the window or a whisper in the night air, her presence is part of what has made Squire's Castle a lasting piece of Ohio folklore. The persistence of Louisa's story speaks to the human fascination with unfinished lives and unfinished places. Perhaps it doesn't matter whether she truly died in the castle or whether the tale was born of rumor and imagination. What matters is that the legend has endured, passed down through generations, attaching itself as tightly to the castle as ivy once did to its stone walls. Each retelling keeps her memory alive, ensuring that visitors to Squire's Castle never see it as just another ruin, but as a monument to sorrow, fear, and the possibility of the supernatural. As dusk settles over the North Chagrin Reservation, the castle takes on a new character. Its windows, empty eyes in the fading light, seem to watch the woods. The silence grows heavier, broken only by the rustle of leaves and the occasional snap of a twig. And if you linger long enough, some say you may catch a glimpse of her Louisa, forever wandering the halls of a dream that became a nightmare. Her ghost bound to the stones of Squire's Castle for eternity. The Guggenheim Air Institute in Akron, Ohio, is one of those places where silence seems heavier than sound, where the stillness of abandonment presses down on every surface and corner. Once a building filled with the energy of innovation, research, and exploration, it now stands as a shell of its former self, its corridors empty but far from quiet. Time has taken its toll on the structure. Paint peels from the walls. Windows are fractured into jagged mosaics, and weeds crawl up its foundation. Yet what draws the most attention are not just the signs of neglect, but the whispers of something unseen that continues to move within its walls. Paranormal investigators and curious visitors alike claim that the Guggenheim Air Institute is haunted, its forgotten halls echoing with the presence of spirits unwilling to let go. The origins of the building trace back to an era when aviation was capturing the imagination of the nation. The Guggenheim Fund for the Promotion of Aeronautics, established in the 1920s, sought to advance the study of flight across the country. Akron, already a hub of industry and innovation, seemed a fitting place for such an institution. The Air Institute was constructed as part of this effort, dedicated to research, education, and experimentation in the early years of aviation. Its classrooms and laboratories once buzzed with students, engineers, and instructors determined to push the boundaries of human flight. But, like many ambitious projects, time was not kind to it. As priorities shifted and newer facilities took over the work of research, the Guggenheim Air Institute slipped into irrelevance. Eventually, the building was shuttered, its doors locked, its purpose dissolved into history. Yet buildings, like people, seem to hold on to memory, and the Guggenheim has become more known for what it houses: no-ghost stories, unexplained activity, and an atmosphere that refuses to let its history fade. One of the most common reports from those who visit is the appearance of strange lights in the upper levels of the building. These are not the casual reflections of passing cars or the glow of nearby stars. Witnesses describe them as orbs or lantern-like glows that drift slowly from one room to another, as if someone were carrying a light while making their rounds. On occasion, the lights flicker and vanish abruptly, leaving those who see them in stunned silence. Paranormal investigators have attempted to capture them on film, and while some claim to have succeeded, the evidence remains disputed. To those who have seen them with their own eyes, however, There is no doubt that something unusual moves through the upper floors. Equally chilling are the sounds that resonate through the building when no one else is present. Visitors often report hearing footsteps echoing down the halls, deliberate and steady, though no living person can be found. Doors creak open and slam shut without explanation, and disembodied voices murmur in tones too low to decipher. Some have even claimed to hear the faint hum of machinery, as though the building is still alive with the work of long silent engines and instruments. For those who know its history, this is particularly unsettling. It's as if the past refuses to release its hold, replaying moments of its former purpose over and over. The basement, in particular, has become infamous among those brave enough to explore it. Damp, dark, and filled with the smell of mold and decay, the basement is said to be a hotspot of paranormal activity. Investigators have reported sudden drops in temperature, the sensation of being watched, and the unnerving feeling of a presence following them closely. Some describe being touched like brushes against their arms or shoulders with no one nearby. A few even refuse to return after experiencing overwhelming dread, convinced that something down there wants to keep them from leaving. The Guggenheim Air Institute's haunted reputation has made it a magnet for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. Paranormal groups have staged overnight investigations, bringing along recording equipment, electromagnetic field detectors, and infrared cameras. Many of them claim to have recorded unexplained voices, shadows darting across walls, and bursts of energy that spike equipment without any logical source. Skeptics argue that the sounds and sensations can be attributed to the building's natural decay, the shifting of beams, the settling of dust, the drafts that move through broken windows. Yet those explanations fall short for people who have stood in the silence and heard clear voices call their names. Legends have grown around the Institute, fueled by the reports of activity and the mystery of its abandonment. Some speculate that a tragic accident occurred within its walls, perhaps a fatal experiment gone wrong, or a student who lost their life during the Institute's early years. While no official records confirm such stories, the absence of evidence does little to diminish the belief. For many, the building's eerie presence is explanation enough. What is undeniable is the atmosphere of the Guggenheim Air Institute. Even those who do not believe in ghosts often leave with an unsettling feeling. The building seems to breathe with memory, each room holding the imprint of the people who once filled it. The whispers of history linger there, mingling with the shadows, creating an environment where the past feels dangerously close to the present. To stand before the Institute today is to stand before a contradiction, a monument to human ambition, and a reminder of its impermanence. Its crumbling walls bear witness not only to the drive for progress, but also to the lingering energy of lives and stories never fully resolved. Whether the lights and sounds are echoes of restless spirits or the byproducts of decay, the Guggenheim Air Institute has secured its place in the lore of Ohio's haunted landmarks. For those who seek the paranormal, it offers a canvas of fear and fascination, where shadows seem to move of their own accord and silence becomes a living thing. And for those who simply stumble upon it, perhaps unaware of its reputation, the Institute still exerts its influence, stirring unease with every creak of the floor and flicker of unseen lights. It is a place that refuses to fade quietly into history, haunted not only by what people believe they've seen, but by the enduring weight of its own forgotten purpose. The Commodore Perry Building in Toledo, Ohio, is a striking piece of architecture. Its grand design, a reminder of a bygone era when elegance and luxury were woven into the heart of city life. Built in the early 1920s, the building was once the pinnacle of refinement. Named after Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, the naval hero of the War of 1812. Over the decades, it has housed businesses, studios, and restaurants, each adding to its layered history. But beneath its shining exterior lies something much darker, a reputation for being one of Toledo's most haunted locations. For years, whispers of unexplained music, ghostly figures, and an unsettling presence have clung to the building, drawing the attention of both locals and paranormal investigators. At the heart of the stories is a piano that sits in the bar area, a relic of the building's glamorous past. On quiet nights, when no one is near the instrument, its keys are said to come alive. Patrons and staff have reported hearing faint, melodic tunes drifting through the air, as if an unseen pianist is providing entertainment for an audience long gone. Sometimes the sound is soft, a lullaby sequence of notes. Other times it swells into dramatic chords, filling the room with a haunting echo. When curious visitors approach, the music ceases abruptly, leaving only the hollow silence of an empty bar. Skeptics have suggested drafts, faulty wiring, or even the settling of the old piano itself, but those who have heard the full, clear notes insist there is something far beyond simple explanation. The piano is not the only source of mystery within the Commodore Perry building. The upper floors, once home to old studios and apartments, have been the setting for some of the most chilling encounters. Tenants and visitors alike tell of a young girl in a white dress who wanders the hallways. Her figure has been described as slight, translucent, and eerily silent. She appears most often in the late hours, drifting along the corridors before vanishing into thin air. Some claim she has been seen peering out of windows, her face pale and expressionless, as though she is searching for someone who never returned. Who the girl might have been remains uncertain. Legends suggest that she could have been a child who once lived in the building during its residential years. Others whisper about a tragic accident, perhaps a fall from one of the high floors, that left her spirit bound to the place. Whatever her story, her presence is consistent enough that she has become one of the most enduring pieces of the building's ghostly lore. Investigators who have tried to communicate with her report sudden cold spots, the sound of faint giggling, and even the sensation of a small hand brushing against theirs when no one else is near. The history of the Commodore Perry building itself adds weight to the haunting. Like many grand structures of its time, it has seen periods of both prosperity and decline. In its early years, it was a symbol of luxury, attracting Toledo's elite to dine, live, and work within its walls. But as time passed, the building's grandeur faded, and its once bustling spaces became quieter, emptier. With the silence came the story staff hearing footsteps in abandoned hallways, shadows darting across rooms with no source of light, and the unmistakable feeling of being watched. One former employee of the restaurant recalled closing late at night when the unmistakable sound of the piano began to play. At first, he thought another staff member was lingering behind, but when he walked into the room, he found it empty. The piano continued to sound for a few seconds after he entered before falling silent, as if the unseen musician realized they had been discovered. He never worked another closing shift alone after that. Visitors exploring the upper floors have reported doors opening and closing on their own, often with a force too deliberate to be caused by drafts. Some have claimed to hear whispers echoing through the halls, just faint enough to be indecipherable, yet persistent enough to leave a lasting unease. In one chilling account, a group of paranormal investigators described setting up equipment in one of the old studios. As they worked, the sound of soft footsteps circled them, though their instruments registered no visible presence. When they reviewed the audio later, they discovered a faint voice humming what sounded like a lullaby, its tone eerily similar to the ghostly piano melodies. The combination of residual energy, tragic possibility, and centuries of layered history make the Commodore Perry building a focal point for those seeking the paranormal in Toledo. It is not simply the occasional sound or fleeting shadow that unsettles visitors. It is the overall atmosphere. The building seems to hum with memory, its very walls carrying echoes of lives once lived within. Skeptics often dismiss the tales as exaggerations, attributing them to creaking floors, old plumbing, or the power of suggestion in a city already rich with ghost stories. Yet the sheer consistency of the reports to piano that plays, the girl in the white dress, the footsteps in the dark makes it difficult to ignore. For many, the Commodore Perry building is more than just an architectural landmark. It is a place where the line between the living and the dead blurs, where history refuses to be silent. Even in its modern adaptations, with parts of the building restored and repurposed, the hauntings persist. Guests who come for a meal or an event may leave with more than just memories of fine dining. They may leave with a story of something strange, something chilling, something they cannot explain. For those drawn to the paranormal, the Commodore Perry building offers not just history, but the chance to experience the eerie sensation of music without a player, laughter without a source, and the fleeting glimpse of a child who never truly left. It stands as both a monument to Toledo's past and a reminder that not all who walked its halls have moved on. Whether it is the echoes of a tragic life cut short or the energy of a once vibrant space refusing to dim, the Commodore Perry building continues to capture imaginations, its haunting presence ensuring that its legacy is far from forgotten. The Lake County History Center in Painesville, Ohio, is a place where history lingers in ways that are both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Today it stands as a museum and educational hub, filled with artifacts that tell the story of the region's past. But before it became a center of learning, it was known by another, named the Lake County Poorhouse. Built in the 1870s, the building once served as a refuge, and sometimes a prison, for society's forgotten. The poor, the sick, the elderly, and those deemed insane. For over a century, thousands passed through its doors, many never leaving. Their lives and struggles remain embedded in the very walls. And according to countless witnesses, their restless spirits still wander the halls. The history of the poorhouse was grim. Families unable to care for loved ones often left them there, and conditions were far from comfortable. Patients and residents lived in crowded quarters with minimal medical care, often in a haze of suffering and neglect. The insane were housed with the poor and the dying, and in many cases, their lives ended there. Buried in unmarked graves nearby, the building absorbed decades of sorrow, pain, and despairing grievance that many believe have fueled the hauntings reported to this day. Those who work at the History Center are no strangers to strange activity. Long after the last visitor has left and the doors have been locked, the building comes alive in ways that defy explanation. Footsteps echo across the main floor when no one is there, measured and deliberate, as though someone is pacing the corridors. Some staff describe the sound as heavy boots on the old wooden floors, others as a faint shuffle, as if slippers or bare feet are dragging across the boards. The footsteps stop abruptly when investigated, leaving only silence behind, but they always return, a nightly reminder that the past has not let go. The hallways themselves are said to be the heart of the activity. Visitors and paranormal investigators alike have reported hearing shuffling noises just out of sight, as though someone is walking just ahead or just behind. Turn a corner, and no one is there. Wait in silence, and the sound will return, circling, drifting, taunting. It creates a sense of being watched, stalked even, by something unseen. Many describe the sensation as oppressive, a weight pressing down on the chest, urging them to leave. Disembodied voices are another common phenomenon within the building. They range from faint whispers to full-throated murmurs, sometimes sounding like conversations taking place in empty rooms. Staff locking up late at night have reported hearing their names called from the darkness, only to find themselves completely alone. Paranormal teams equipped with recording devices have captured clear voices on audio voices that should not exist. One recording allegedly caught a man saying, "Help me," while another picked up what sounded like a woman crying softly. These electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, add a chilling layer of credibility to the claims, leaving even skeptics unsettled. The basement, once used for storage and perhaps even confinement, is considered one of the most haunted areas of the History Center. Heavy with damp air and shadow, it has been the site of growls, knocks, and sudden temperature drops. Some investigators describe feeling touched, as though unseen hands brushed against their arms or shoulders. Others report seeing fleeting figures in the corners, dark shapes that vanish the instant they are noticed. The oppressive energy there has been enough to drive some visitors back upstairs, unwilling to continue exploring. Upstairs, the former residents' rooms retain a strange, heavy atmosphere. Though the space now houses historical exhibits, many claim to feel the sadness of those who once lived and died within the walls. One room in particular is known for its activity. People have reported seeing a shadow figure near the window. standing silently, as though staring out at the grounds. The apparition lingers for only a few seconds before fading, but it has been seen often enough to become a centerpiece of the building's ghostly reputation. Stories persist of a woman in white roaming the halls, thought to be a former resident who died tragically in the poorhouse. Her figure has been seen gliding silently across the second floor, her expression sorrowful, her presence fleeting. Some believe she is searching for her family, abandoned to the institution and never reunited. Her appearance is often accompanied by sudden chills, even in the height of summer, and the faint scent of lavender, as though some trace of her former life clings to her spirit. Paranormal investigators who have studied the Lake County History Center confirm the building as a hotspot of activity. EMF meters spike unexpectedly, flashlights flicker in direct response to questions, and recording devices consistently pick up unexplainable sounds. Some investigators even claim to have had direct conversations with spirits, receiving intelligent responses to their questions through knocks, words, or sudden bursts of static. For all its haunted reputation, the History Center continues to welcome guests, both for its rich historical exhibits and its supernatural allure. Ghost tours and overnight investigations have become popular, drawing those eager to encounter the spirits of the past. Many leave with stories of their own footsteps in the hall, voices on the wind, or the unsettling feeling of being touched by unseen hands. The Lake County History Center is more than just a museum. It is a vessel of memory, steeped in the lives and deaths of those who found themselves cast aside by society. The building has borne witness to suffering and sorrow, and the echoes of that pain still ripple through its rooms. Whether it is residual energy or the restless souls of the forgotten, the hauntings of the History Center remind us that the past does not always stay silent. For those who step inside, history is not confined to dusty artifacts and records. It walks the halls, whispers in the dark, and makes itself known in ways that cannot be ignored. The Klein Opera House in Cortland, Ohio, carries with it an air of mystery and unease that has clung to its walls for more than a century. Originally built as a town church, the structure served as a place of worship before being converted into an opera house. And over time, it became a hub of culture and community gatherings. Yet, while its architecture speaks of history and charm, its atmosphere tells a different story, one of tragedy, ghostly presences, and events that defy explanation. Those who have stepped inside after dark have described the building as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead grows dangerously thin. One of the central figures tied to the Klein Opera House is Father Donald McLeod, the church's early caretaker and spiritual leader. Father McLeod was a beloved figure in Cortland, dedicated to his parishioners and deeply woven into the fabric of the community. But tragedy struck when he was hit and killed by a train not far from the church. His death was sudden and violent, leaving shockwaves throughout the town. For many, the grief was overwhelming, but the story did not end there. To this day, many believe Father McLeod never truly left his church, and that his spirit continues to linger in what later became the Opera House. Employees and visitors alike have reported experiences that hint at his restless presence. Disembodied footsteps echo across the empty building, often late at night when the Opera House should be silent. The sounds are distinct and deliberate. Not random creaks of an old building, but the heavy stride of boots pacing across wooden floors. On more than one occasion, workers have chased the noise, expecting to find someone walking through the hallways, only to discover that the building is empty. Some even claim the footsteps follow them, always a few steps behind. But when they turn to look, there is nothing there. Loud crashing noises are another unnerving phenomenon within the Opera House. Objects are heard falling in distant rooms, as though furniture has been overturned or boxes dropped from great heights. Yet when employees rush to investigate, everything is undisturbed. The crashing comes from nowhere and leaves no trace. A chilling reminder that something unseen is capable of stirring the silence with forceful intent. Some speculate that these sounds are residual echoes of the building's long and turbulent past, while others believe they are manifestations of Father McLeod's spirit, restless and frustrated by his tragic death. The apparition of Father McLeod himself has been reported more than once. Witnesses describe a tall figure in clerical clothing appearing in doorways or hallways, often near the stage area. His presence is fleeting. One moment, he is there. The next, he vanishes into thin air. What makes these encounters particularly unsettling is the energy that accompanies them. A sudden chill in the air, the hairs on the back of the neck standing on end, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Some who claim to have seen him insist there is no malice in his presence, only sorrow, as though he remains tethered to the opera house by grief and unfinished business. Other ghostly encounters at the Klein Opera House suggest that Father McLeod is not the only spirit lingering there. Paranormal investigators who have explored the building have recorded voices whispering through empty corridors. One recording captured what sounded like a man's voice saying, "Stay back," while another seemed to contain the faint sobbing of a woman. These voices, disembodied and unexplained, fuel the belief that the Opera House is more than a stage 4 performance. It is also a stage for the echoes of the dead. Shadows are another recurring phenomenon within the building. Dark figures are said to dart across rooms or move along walls, even when no light source could have created them. Some describe the shadows as humanoid, while others say they are more amorphous, slipping through the opera house as if woven into the fabric of the building itself. The sightings often occur alongside temperature drops and feelings of unease, making even skeptics pause when confronted with the unexplained. The stage area, once the center of entertainment and performance, has also been the center of strange activity. Musicians and actors rehearsing in the opera house after hours have reported hearing footsteps pacing backstage, as if someone is waiting in the wings. Stage props have been found moved from their places. Lights flicker inexplicably, and some performers swear they've seen a figure seated in the audience, silently watching, only for the seat to be empty upon closer inspection. What makes the Klein Opera House particularly haunting is the juxtaposition of its beauty and its darkness. The ornate design and rich history stand in stark contrast to the paranormal disturbances that plague it. It is a place where art and tragedy intertwine, where echoes of sermons, music, and sorrow all linger together. For Cortland, the Opera House remains a landmark, a reminder of the town's past glories and tragedies. But for those who enter its doors with a sensitivity to the supernatural, it is much more than a historical building. It is a vessel for restless spirits, a place where the dead walk beside the living, and where every creak, crash, and whisper may be a message from the other side. Whether Father Donald McLeod roams the Opera House in sorrow, or whether other spirits tied to the building's long history are responsible, the Klein Opera House remains one of Ohio's lesser-known but deeply unsettling haunted sites. Those who step inside, expecting only history, often leave with something far more chilling. The certainty that the Opera House is alive with echoes from a world we cannot see, but one that makes itself known in footsteps, shadows, and whispers in the dark. The Gill House in Galion, Ohio, stands as both a monument to early 20th century innovation and a structure steeped in mystery. Built in the early 1900s by Bloomer Gill, an automotive mogul whose influence and success left a lasting mark on the region. The home is a striking example of craftsmanship and elegance. For decades, the Gill family lived in the stately house, hosting gatherings and becoming a fixture of Galion's social and business circles. But as time passed and the house weathered the years, whispers of strange occurrences began to take root. Visitors and locals alike soon came to believe that the Gill House was more than a historical landmark. It was a place haunted by the spirits of its past. The most well-known story tied to the Gill House centers around its basement. Dark, cool, and filled with the heavy silence of history, the basement has long been the focus of unease. According to local lore, a woman died there under mysterious circumstances. Some say she was connected to the family, while others suggest she was a servant or visitor whose life ended tragically within the stone walls of the cellar. Regardless of the details, her presence has never seemed to leave. Guests who dare to descend into the basement often report feeling watched, the prickling sensation of unseen eyes following them as they move about. The air grows unnaturally cold, and even the most skeptical leave with a sense of dread clinging to them. Unexplained noises are a common occurrence throughout the Gill house. Doors creak open on their own, even when securely shut. Footsteps echo across empty hallways, deliberate and heavy, as though someone unseen is pacing through the house. Some describe faint whispers drifting through the air, impossible to trace, and often unintelligible, except for the unmistakable sound of a human voice. Objects have been known to shift without explanation, and visitors often hear what sounds like soft sobbing emanating from the basement, even though no one is there. One of the eeriest reports involves a sensation that many who tour the house have described in strikingly similar terms. The feeling of a hand lightly brushing against their shoulder or arm. Sometimes it is gentle, almost comforting, as though a spirit is trying to make its presence known in a subtle way. At other times, the touch is sudden and unnerving, leaving the recipient startled and searching the room for answers. Paranormal investigators who have explored the Gill house have captured strange phenomena as well. Recordings from the basement often reveal electronic voice phenomena, disembodied words and phrases that were not heard during the investigation but appear later on playback. Some of these recordings include faint pleas for help, while others seem to carry angry or sorrowful tones. Investigators have also noted sudden temperature drops, cold spots that move throughout the house as though guided by an unseen presence. The house itself, with its grand architecture and historic charm, adds to the haunting atmosphere. Large windows, ornate woodwork, and expansive rooms all speak to the wealth and vision of Bloomer Gill. Yet they also serve as the backdrop for countless eerie experiences. The contrast between the house's beauty and its chilling energy is part of what makes the Gill house so captivating to those who visit. By day, it is a proud reminder of Gallian's history, but by night, it becomes a place where shadows seem to move on their own, and silence is filled with whispers. Over the years, many theories have emerged about why the Gill house might be haunted. Some believe the woman who died in the basement lingers because her death was untimely or unjust, trapping her spirit in the place where her life ended. Others suggest that the energy of the Gill family, who poured so much of themselves into the house, has imprinted upon it, leaving behind echoes of their presence. Still others think the home's age and connection to generations of people simply make it a natural vessel for residual energy, where past emotions and tragedies replay themselves like a record stuck on repeat. Visitors who enter the Gill house often leave with more questions than answers. Some walk away convinced they encountered the paranormal, while others remain skeptical but admit the house has a heavy, almost oppressive atmosphere they cannot explain. Whether it is the sound of footsteps where no one is walking, the sight of a shadow moving in the corner of the eye, or the unsettling feeling of not being alone, the Gill house has a way of leaving an impression that lingers long after one departs. For the community of Gallian, the Gill house remains a landmark, not only for its ties to Bloomer Gill and the history of industry in Ohio, but also for the mysteries it holds. Local ghost tours often include it as a stop, and paranormal researchers continue to be drawn to its halls in hopes of uncovering the truth behind the strange activity. Each investigation seems to bring more evidence, more stories, and more questions, adding to the house's reputation as one of Ohio's haunted treasures. The Gill house stands today as both a testament to the achievements of the Gill family and a reminder of the shadows that linger in old places where tragedy once unfolded. Its walls have absorbed over a century of history, joy, success, sorrow, and death, and all of it seems to echo back in the form of hauntings that defy explanation. For those who seek out the paranormal, it is a place that offers no guarantees, but promises the possibility of experiencing something beyond the ordinary. Whether one believes the Gill house is truly haunted or simply a place with an atmosphere shaped by age and imagination, the stories surrounding it continue to captivate. The spirits said to roam the basement, the unexplained noises, and the eerie touches felt by visitors all contribute to the legend. And as long as people continue to step inside its historic walls, the Gill house will remain not only a symbol of Gallian's past, but also a place where the boundary between history and haunting feels unusually thin. The Pawnee Apartments in Cortland, carry with them a reputation that makes them stand apart from the average block of housing. On the surface, they seem like any other quiet set of apartments, where families and individuals settle into their daily lives. Yet, beneath their foundations lies a history that is far older and darker than the buildings themselves. Local stories claim that the apartments were built atop an ancient burial ground, a place where the dead were meant to rest undisturbed. Instead, their graves were covered, their history erased, and their silence broken by modern construction. Residents, who have called the Pawnee Apartments home, tell of experiences that defy logic. Experiences that suggest the dead have not forgotten and are unwilling to be ignored. The stories began almost as soon as the apartments were completed. At first, it was the usual hum of strange noises of faint knocking at odd hours, the creak of footsteps in empty hallways, and whispers that seemed to drift through vents, though no voices could be traced to a source. Tenants chalked it up to the settling of the building or the quirks of living in close quarters. But as more people came and went, the stories deepened. It wasn't just sounds anymore. Objects began to move on their own, sometimes subtly, like a glass shifting an inch across a countertop, and other times dramatically, like a picture frame toppling violently from the wall. Doors are said to be particularly active in the Pawnee Apartments. Residents have often reported doors opening and closing by themselves, sometimes with such force that the sound echoes down the hallways. Others describe doors that lock without warning, trapping them inside rooms until the lock inexplicably clicks open again. One tenant recalled placing a chair in front of her bedroom door to stop it from swinging open during the night, only to wake up to find the chair moved across the room and the door wide open. These experiences are so common that many who live there simply accept them as part of the daily routine, though few ever grow comfortable with the sensation of being watched by something unseen. Among the most unsettling reports is the repeated sighting of a man in a sombrero. Descriptions are strikingly consistent. A tall figure, dressed in simple, old-fashioned clothing, his wide-brimmed hat shadowing much of his face. He is most often seen standing silently in hallways or near doorways, watching the living go about their lives. Some say he appears solid, as if he were flesh and blood, only to vanish the moment they look back. Others insist he is more of a shadow, his outline distinct but his details blurred, as though he were an imprint from another time. No one knows who he might be, but theories abound. Some believe he was a man buried in the ancient ground below, his soul restless from being disturbed. Others suggest he was a laborer who once worked the land long before the apartments were built, now tethered to the place for reasons unknown. The activity does not stop at physical manifestations. Tenants often describe an oppressive feeling of heaviness in the air, particularly at night. Many have spoken about lying awake in bed and feeling a presence in the room with them, the sensation so strong it forces them to hold their breath. Some wake to find shadows moving across the walls, even though no lights are on outside or inside their apartments. Pets are especially sensitive to the strange energy. Dogs have been known to bark and growl at empty corners, while cats refuse to enter certain rooms, staring at unseen things with wide, fearful eyes. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Pawnee Apartments report significant findings. Equipment designed to measure electromagnetic fields often spikes in areas where residents claim the most activity occurs. Voice recorders left running in empty apartments have captured strange phenomenal, murmured voices, the sound of footsteps, and, on one occasion, the distinct strum of a guitar. This has only fueled speculation that the man in the sombrero might have once been a musician, his spirit carrying fragments of his earthly identity into the afterlife. What makes the hauntings at the Pawnee Apartments even more disturbing is the persistence of the activity. Unlike other haunted locations where disturbances ebb and flow, the reports here remain consistent. New tenants move in, skeptical and dismissive of the stories, only to leave months later after experiencing events they cannot explain. Some refuse to discuss their experiences, while others warn future residents of what they might encounter. The cycle continues, and with every departure, the legend of the apartments grows stronger. Local historians and researchers often point to the burial ground beneath the property as the heart of the disturbance. In many cultures, burial sites are considered sacred, places where the dead are meant to rest undisturbed for eternity. To build upon such land is to invite unrest, to stir the spirits who were laid to rest with care and ceremony. In the case of the Pawnee Apartments, those ancient graves may have been forgotten by time, but the spirits connected to them have not. Their energy seems to seep through the foundations, manifesting in ways that remind the living of what was lost and disrespected. For those who live in the Pawnee Apartments, life is a balance between the mundane and the supernatural. Some residents try to ignore the disturbances, chalking them up to imagination or coincidence, while others fully embrace the idea that their homes are haunted. Stories are swapped in hushed tones in the laundry room or at the mailboxes, each tale confirming that the experiences are shared, not isolated. Whether it's a sound of footsteps echoing in the night, the door that won't stay closed, or the silent figure of the man in the sombrero watching from the shadows, the residents know they are never truly alone. The Pawnee Apartments remain a place of mystery and unease, their history buried both literally and figuratively beneath layers of time. The stories told by those who have lived there weave a chilling narrative that blends legend, history, and personal experience into one haunting whole. For some, it is a place to avoid, a warning etched into the fabric of local folklore. For others, it is a source of fascination, a chance to glimpse the boundary between the living and the dead. Whatever the case, the apartments continue to stand, their walls holding secrets that echo in the whispers of the past. A reminder that some places never truly let go of the souls that came before. The Brumback Library in Van Wert stands as a testament to history, education, and community pride. Established in 1915 as Ohio's first county library, it has served generations as a place of learning and quiet reflection. Its brick facade, ornate detailing, and period architecture give it an air of dignified serenity. But beneath its scholarly exterior lies a more unsettling reality. Beyond the hushed whispers of students and the rustle of pages, the library has a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued and terrified visitors for decades. Those who spend evenings within its walls often report experiences that defy explanation, a lingering sense that the past refuses to remain silent. The first signs of the library's strange energy often manifest as sounds. Staff working late into the night have recounted the sound of footsteps echoing along the empty corridors, heavy and deliberate, yet never belonging to anyone present. Some describe a rhythmic pattern, like someone pacing back and forth in contemplation, while others hear quick, scuttling steps darting across the wooden floors. Attempts to trace the sounds always end in confusion. Hallways are empty, the staircases vacant, and the air eerily still. Books, once thought to be steadfast and immovable, often seem to have their own will within the Brumback Library. Librarians and volunteers have reported books toppling from shelves without any apparent cause, sometimes landing perfectly upright, as if carefully placed by unseen hands. In rare instances, entire stacks shift, leaving neat rows slightly askew or rearranged in ways that suggest a guiding presence. Some witnesses claim to hear faint whispers accompanying these movements, almost like murmured instructions or quiet admonitions, as though the library itself is enforcing order beyond human supervision. Cold drafts and sudden drops in temperature are another hallmark of the Brumback Library's hauntings. Even on warm summer nights, certain sections of the building grow inexplicably chilly. Visitors describe the sensation of walking through invisible walls of cold, their breath fogging in the air, hair standing on end. These cold spots are often accompanied by a sense of being observed, a weight pressing on the chest, or the feeling that an unseen presence is standing just beyond sight. Paranormal investigators have measured spikes in electromagnetic activity in these areas, lending some credence to the experiences of those who report them. At the center of the library's ghostly lore is the figure of a former librarian. She is said to be a meticulous, disciplined spirit who continues her work long after death. Accounts vary. Some describe seeing a shadowy woman moving between stacks, her posture straight, head bent over an invisible ledger. Others report glimpsing a face in the dim lighting, features lined with age and sternness, eyes focused yet sorrowful. Many insist she carries an air of authority, and when she appears, she is not just a presence, but a force of order, a guardian of books and knowledge. Those brave or perhaps unfortunate enough to encounter her directly often feel compelled to behave. According to the library's unwritten rules, loud voices are hushed instinctively, cell phones are silenced, and intruders tread lightly, as though in the presence of a strict overseer. Some visitors claim to hear a faint shush when they speak too loudly, even when no one is physically near. Others recount books being gently guided back to their proper place, as if she were silently correcting their mistakes. The energy is not malevolent, but it is undeniably potent, commanding respect and caution from those within the library's walls. Paranormal researchers have captured compelling evidence of the library's unusual activity. Digital recorders have picked up whispers too faint and fleeting to be understood clearly, while motion-sensitive cameras have occasionally recorded objects moving of their own accord. Some have reported faint, shadowy figures appearing on video, standing among the stacks, only to vanish when approached. These occurrences have made Brumback Library a point of interest, not only for ghost hunters, but for historians intrigued by the lingering presence of the past. Interestingly, the hauntings at Brumback are not limited to nighttime. A few daytime visitors report feeling sudden chills or a sense of unease in certain corners of the library, particularly near the oldest sections. These areas contain rare volumes and historical documents, suggesting a connection between the library's spectral activities and its commitment to preserving knowledge. Whether the spirits are drawn to the books themselves or the echoes of long departed caretakers remains a topic of speculation, but the pattern is undeniable. The library is a place where the past and present coexist in ways both subtle and startling. Despite or perhaps because of its paranormal reputation, the Brumback Library remains a cherished institution. Locals respect its history and the lingering presence they believe watches over it. Some leave small tokens on shelves, while others approach the experience with curiosity rather than fear, treating the library as a space where the boundaries between life and death blur. The building's dual identity, as both a sanctuary of learning and a home to lingering spirits, adds a layer of depth to its already rich history, making it a destination that fascinates both scholars and thrill-seekers. Ultimately, the Brumback Library is more than just Ohio's first county library. It is a living archive of human experience, not only preserving books, but also memories, energies, and perhaps even the spirits of those who dedicated their lives to its care. The flying books, sudden chills, echoing footsteps, and shadowy presences all serve as reminders that the past is never truly gone. For those who visit, the library offers an experience that transcends the ordinary, a chance to witness a place where knowledge, history, and the supernatural intersect in ways both unsettling and awe-inspiring. Whether you come seeking books, history, or the thrill of the unknown, a visit to the Brumback Library offers more than stories on pages. It provides a brush with the unseen, a whisper from a caretaker who refuses to rest, and a reminder that some spirits remain tethered to their life's work, ensuring the stories of the past endure for generations yet to come. The Ritchie House, an imposing structure in Zanesville dating back to the 1800s, stands as a silent witness to a history marked by both grandeur and sorrow. Its brick walls and intricate woodwork hint at a bygone era of wealth and prominence. But beneath the elegance lies a legacy of tragedy that continues to haunt the building and its grounds. For over a century, locals have whispered about strange occurrences within the Ritchie House, tales of shadows flitting through empty rooms, and cries that seem to echo from nowhere, drawing the curious and the brave alike into its unsettling embrace. From the moment one steps onto the property, an uneasy atmosphere seems to settle around visitors. The air inside the house often carries a weight that cannot be explained by weather or age alone. Guests and paranormal investigators alike have described sudden drops in temperature as they move through the hallways, a chill that clings to clothing and skin, making each breath visible in the dim light. Some have reported feeling invisible hands brush against their shoulders, or the sense that someone unseen is following their movements, keeping pace just beyond their vision. Perhaps the most frequently reported phenomenon involves the shadow figures said to roam the Ritchie house. Observers describe fleeting shapes that pass along corridors, sometimes glimpsed from the corner of an eye, only to vanish when directly looked at. These figures appear human in form but lack discernible features, their presence more felt than seen. Some visitors recount standing in a room, certain they are alone, only to feel the sudden, unmistakable pressure of an unseen presence nearby. Others have caught shadows crossing behind doors or disappearing around corners where no living person could possibly be. The sounds within the Ritchie house add another layer to its chilling reputation. Faint, sorrowful cries have been reported emanating from walls, empty rooms, and hallways where no one is present. The cries are often described as mournful, as though the spirits of those who suffered untimely deaths remain trapped within the home, endlessly replaying moments of grief and loss. Occasionally, the sounds intensify, echoing through multiple rooms, only to vanish as quickly as they appeared, leaving an unsettling silence in their wake. Visitors have said these cries are so vivid that they can almost distinguish individual words, pleas for comfort or acknowledgement, that never come. One particularly unnerving aspect of the Ritchie house is its old rocking chair. Situated in a corner of the parlor, the chair is frequently observed to move on its own. Witnesses report the chair gently rocking back and forth as though someone had just left it, yet no footprints or other signs of human presence accompany the motion. Some have tried to sit in the chair, only to feel a sudden, intense pressure, like an invisible hand pressing them down or urging them to rise. Paranormal teams have set up recording equipment near the chair, capturing motion and temperature anomalies, though the cause remains unexplained. In addition to the rocking chair, other objects in the house are said to act of their own accord. Doors have been known to swing open or slam shut without any wind or visible cause. Lights flicker unexpectedly, casting elongated shadows along walls, and cabinets rattle as though someone were rifling through their contents. Some investigators have reported electronic devices malfunctioning in certain rooms, adding a technological layer to the mystery that suggests a strong, localized energy within the house. Local lore ties the haunting of the Ritchie house to the tragedies of its former inhabitants. Accounts suggest that multiple sudden deaths occurred within the home, leaving unfinished lives and unresolved grief behind. Residents reportedly perished from illnesses, accidents, and other misfortunes, creating an atmosphere heavy with sorrow. It is this unresolved emotion, many believe, that binds the spirits to the property, replaying moments of fear, pain, and longing. The intensity of these experiences appears to fluctuate, often growing stronger during late evenings or in rooms where historical events of significance took place. Visitors describe the emotional weight inside the house as palpable. Some feel waves of sadness that seem to come from nowhere, while others report a creeping sense of dread, as if the house itself is aware of their presence. Even skeptics, who enter the property seeking rational explanations, often find themselves unsettled by the eerie energy that lingers in the hallways and stairwells. The combination of temperature drops, moving objects, shadow figures, and ghostly cries creates an immersive, unnerving experience that few forget. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the Ritchie house attracts historians, thrill seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Its historical significance, paired with its long-standing tales of spectral activity, makes it a focal point for exploration and investigation. Guided tours occasionally include recounting the house's dark past, highlighting the mysterious phenomena that continue to draw attention. For those willing to walk its creaking floors and peer into dimly lit rooms, the Ritchie house offers a chilling glimpse into a place where the past refuses to remain silent. Paranormal researchers have documented a variety of experiences within the house, from the subtle to the startling. Motion detectors capture unexplained movement. Audio equipment records faint voices and murmurs. Thermal cameras reveal temperature anomalies and shadowy shapes invisible to the naked eye. Yet no single investigation has fully explained the source of the activity, whether the disturbances are residual echoes of past tragedies, the imprints of strong emotions, or intelligent spirits interacting with the living. The Ritchie House remains a compelling mystery. The Ritchie House is more than a historic building. It is a living reminder of the human stories and sorrows it has housed for over a century. The shadow figures, moving rocking chair, unexplained noises, and sudden cold spots all serve as evidence that the home's past continues to reach into the present. Visitors who step inside often feel a mixture of awe and apprehension, recognizing that they are witnessing a place where history and the supernatural intersect in ways that defy simple explanation. For anyone drawn to history, mystery, or the paranormal, the Ritchie House in Zanesville offers an unforgettable encounter. Its halls whisper the stories of lives cut short. Its furniture moves with unseen hands, and its air carries a palpable sense of lingering presence. The house invites exploration, yet warns caution. Within its walls, the past is never truly gone, and the echoes of tragedy remain very much alive. The old Springfield High School, once a bustling center of learning and youthful energy, now stands silent and decaying at the edge of town. Its brick facade, chipped and weathered by decades of neglect, hints at a time when classrooms echoed with chatter and the gymnasium reverberated with the sounds of cheering students. Today, the hallways are empty, the windows broken, and the doors hanging crooked on rusted hinges. But despite its abandonment, the school is far from lifeless. Over the years, stories of ghostly activity have made the old Springfield High a magnet for thrill-seekers and paranormal investigators, all drawn to the eerie energy that permeates the building. Visitors often report an immediate shift in atmosphere upon stepping through the front doors. The air is thick, cold in ways that defy the season, and heavy with a sense of lingering presence. Some describe the sensation as being watched, an invisible audience of past students observing every step. The hallways, once filled with lockers and student laughter, now seem to breathe with their own rhythm. Footsteps echo unnaturally across the tiles, pacing in patterns that suggest a discipline long forgotten, yet no one is visible. These footsteps are most commonly reported near the stairwells, where it is said that late at night, former students and staff replay fragments of their daily routines as residual echoes of the past. The lockers themselves are a frequent source of unsettling occurrences. Witnesses describe them slamming shut with sudden force, despite the absence of wind or movement. Some have even claimed that the handles jingle as if someone is rifling through them, only for the noise to stop abruptly the moment one approaches. Paranormal teams investigating the site often capture these sounds on audio recording devices, but no physical evidence of movement is ever found. The lockers seem to hold on to the memories of students long gone, a silent, metallic archive of energy and emotion. Classrooms in the old Springfield High are said to be hotspots for ghostly phenomena. Several visitors report sudden drops in temperature, with cold spots forming in precise areas of the room, as if someone invisible sits at a desk. Some have described hearing the scratch of chalk against blackboards, even though the boards themselves are cracked and dusty. Faint whispers, almost like children reciting lessons, drift through the empty spaces, leaving an impression that the building itself remembers the learning and laughter that once took place. On occasion, EVP recordings capture voices calling out names, sometimes of students who reportedly attended the school decades earlier, as though the walls themselves are attempting to speak to the living. The gymnasium, a cavernous space once filled with shouts, music, and squeaking shoes, has its own share of unexplained activity. Nighttime visitors report hearing the echo of bouncing basketballs and distant whistles. Yet, when the lights are turned on, the room remains empty. Some claim to see fleeting silhouettes darting across the polished floors, shadows shaped like Athelenes mid-stride, only to vanish when one turns to focus. The stage in the auditorium is also a point of interest. Heavy curtains sometimes move as if brushed by unseen hands and chairs. occasionally shift from their positions, leaving investigators to wonder if spectral rehearsals are playing out in solitude. Bathrooms and locker rooms, often damp and neglected, are among the most reported areas for strange sensations. People speak of faucets turning on and off without cause, doors creaking, and showers rattling as if occupied. One recurring phenomenon involves the faint sound of children's laughter echoing down hallways, particularly near the bathrooms, even though no one has been inside for years. Some visitors have claimed to see small figures at the edges of their vision, darting behind stalls or sinks, disappearing when looked at directly. These fleeting glimpses create a sense of constant unease, a reminder that the building retains the imprints of those who once roamed its corridors. The history of the old Springfield High adds depth to the eerie atmosphere. Built in the early 20th century, the school witnessed generations of students passing through its doors. Over the years, accidents, untimely deaths, and emotional upheavals contributed to the lingering energy inside. Some stories suggest that particularly traumatic events, such as a student's sudden illness or the collapse of the auditorium roof during a crowded assembly, have left residual imprints that replay sporadically, forming what paranormal investigators call residual hauntings. Investigators have noted patterns in the manifestations that suggest some awareness or intelligence. Shadow figures often appear in hallways where one would expect students to walk between classes, and objects occasionally move in ways that appear purposeful rather than random. Cold spots frequently align with particular desks or lockers, hinting at localized sources of energy. Audio recordings sometimes capture muffled voices conversing or calling names, lending credibility to accounts of spirits seeking recognition or attempting to communicate with the living. For those who venture inside, the old Springfield High School is more than just a collection of empty classrooms and decaying walls. It is a repository of memory, a place where past and present coexist in unsettling harmony. The echoes of footsteps, slamming lockers, whispered lessons, and ghostly laughter combine to create an immersive experience of lingering life, reminding visitors that some memories never fade. While skeptics may attribute the occurrences to imagination or the natural acoustics of a deteriorating building, the consistency and intensity of eyewitness reports suggest a supernatural presence that has resisted decades of abandonment. Exploring the old Springfield High is both thrilling and unnerving. The building draws historians, ghost enthusiasts, and thrill seekers who are eager to witness its eerie phenomena firsthand. Visitors often come prepared with recording devices, cameras, and thermometers, hoping to capture evidence of the spirits that many claim inhabit the school. Yet even without instruments, the sensation of being in a space steeped in decades of human emotion and energy is enough to unsettle anyone. Ultimately, the old Springfield High School stands as a testament to the power of memory and the unseen. Its hallways, classrooms, and gymnasium remain haunted not only by tragic events, but also by the vibrant life that once animated them. Footsteps echo, lockers slam, laughter reverberates, and whispers call out from the past, creating a living chronicle of experiences frozen in time. To enter the school is to step into a liminal space where history and the supernatural converge, offering a haunting glimpse into a world that refuses to let go. The Belmont County Courthouse in St. Clairsville stands as a proud testament to 19th century architecture. Its brick and stone walls weathered by time, yet exuding an air of authority and history. Built in the 1800s, it has witnessed countless trials, judgments, and, inevitably, human suffering. Yet the courthouse is more than a mere repository of legal records. It has earned a reputation as one of Ohio's most haunted public buildings. Over the decades, numerous staff members, visitors, and paranormal investigators have reported strange occurrences, giving rise to tales of restless spirits who still roam its halls. Many encounters begin in the quieter corridors after hours, when the building's bustle has faded and shadows deepen along the grand staircases. Witnesses describe fleeting figures in period clothing, often resembling lawyers, jurors, or defendants from the courthouse's early days. These apparitions move with a sense of purpose, pacing the halls, entering chambers, or appearing to consult invisible documents. One longtime custodian recalls seeing a man in an old-fashioned suit, bowing respectfully before vanishing near the judge's chamber, leaving an unshakable feeling of awe and unease. These sightings are so precise and detailed that some believe the spirits are residual echoes of courthouse life, replaying moments from decades past. The courtroom itself is a frequent hotspot for activity. Visitors report hearing faint murmurs that resemble arguments or deliberations, even when the room is empty. The voices often carry a tone of urgency or distress, as if participants in historic trials continue their disputes beyond the grave. Doors have been known to slam shut without explanation, and some have felt sudden, icy gusts of air that sweep through the chambers. Paranormal investigators using audio recording devices and EMF meters frequently pick up unexplained anomalies in these areas, reinforcing the belief that the courthouse retains a strong energy linked to the emotions of those who passed through its halls. In addition to spectral figures, inanimate objects occasionally take on a life of their own. Heavy wooden doors, once sealed for the night, have been observed opening slowly, as though inviting unseen visitors inside. Furniture sometimes shifts subtly, as if a hand brushed against it. One striking report describes an ancient ledger found resting on a desk in the clerk's office, only to later be discovered lying on the floor, despite no one having entered the room. These inexplicable movements create an impression that the courthouse itself is animated, responding to the energies and memories ingrained within its walls. The basement and storage areas of the courthouse have their own eerie tales. In these dimly lit spaces, staff have reported footsteps echoing in isolated hallways, distant whispers, and the sensation of being watched. Some describe seeing shadows flit across the walls, moving contrary to the natural angles of the rooms. At times, investigators have caught glimpses of translucent figures hunched over stacks of ledgers, performing tasks that ended long before the advent of modern administration. Such encounters suggest that even the most mundane aspects of courthouse life have been imprinted upon the building's fabric, manifesting in subtle yet persistent hauntings. Some of the most chilling experiences relate to the courthouse's connection with justice in its most final form. Historical records indicate that executions and high-profile trials occurred within its walls, and some believe the lingering spirits are tied to these intense moments. Witnesses report feeling a sudden, oppressive weight in certain areas, as if the courthouse itself mourns the pain and fear of those who faced their fates there. Others have experienced a sense of being observed from unseen vantage points, adding to the building's reputation for carrying a heavy, almost tangible atmosphere of judgment and sorrow. Paranormal researchers visiting the Belmont County Courthouse have noted that the intensity of activity varies depending on the time of day. Late evening and early morning hours tend to be the most active, coinciding with times when the courthouse is empty and silent. During these hours, the combination of shadows, echoes, and sudden temperature shifts is reported to be at its peak. Visitors often describe an uncanny sense of stepping back into the 1800s, as if the courthouse has become a bridge across time, allowing the past to briefly intermingle with the present. Even employees with long tenures have recounted unsettling encounters. Clerks, janitors, and security personnel have experienced objects moving without cause, doors opening on their own, and fleeting glimpses of figures that vanish when approached. Some have heard footsteps following them through hallways, only to discover no one is there. Others report whispers of names, directives, or phrases that cannot be explained. These stories are often shared with a mixture of reverence and trepidation, suggesting that those who witness the courthouse's spirits feel both the weight of history and the strange comfort of a presence that is not entirely malevolent. Visitors drawn to the Belmont County Courthouse for paranormal exploration describe a building alive with stories. Its walls seem to hum with the echoes of trials, judgments, and human emotion. Spectral figures, mysterious sounds, and inexplicable movements combine to create an atmosphere that is at once unnerving and fascinating. whether one interprets these phenomena as supernatural or psychological. The courthouse undeniably evokes a sense of connection to the past, a reminder that history leaves an imprint not only on records and architecture, but on the very air itself. The Belmont County Courthouse stands as a unique intersection of history and haunting. Its stately architecture, long history of human drama, and recurring reports of paranormal activity make it a site where time feels fluid and the line between the living and the dead blurs. From apparitions pacing empty hallways to whispered courtroom arguments, every corner of the courthouse seems charged with memory. Those who walk its halls late at night often leave with an indelible impression of having witnessed something beyond the ordinary, a lingering trace of justice, sorrow, and the echoes of lives that refuse to fade. The courthouse is more than a building. It is a keeper of stories, a silent observer of centuries of human experience, and a place where the past continues to speak, softly but insistently, to those willing to listen. Ohio's haunted locations remind us that the past is never truly gone. From shadowy figures and spectral footsteps to unexplained voices and icy cold spots, each story carries the weight of history and a lingering presence of those who have come before us. Whether exploring these sites in search of the paranormal or simply wandering the halls of history, Ohio's haunted places offer a chilling reminder that some spirits never rest. So, tread lightly, listen closely, and remember, in these haunted corners of Ohio, the line between the living and the dead is thinner than you might ever imagine.